how it was able to be even more disastrous than it already was is kind of impressive in and of itself. Here's what Donald Trump's been posting as he continues to panic. First, he posts that, "Do you think the people appreciate what a fantastic job we did in building and operating the great American State Fair?" And Trump says that Obama or Sleepy Joe Biden couldn't have pulled this off. Read.
I have a request to make, guys. Hit subscribe, like this video right now, subscribe to the channel, and join the membership, most importantly, because we need to keep independent journalism alive. We are just 29 members on this channel right now. We need at least 1,000. We are far from our goal. Please join the membership right now. It is just $9 a month. And this way you can support us and we can keep the great work alive. Subscribe to America Facticity, guys. Let's go back to the topic.
Howard Stern exposed Donald Trump, and därför aus des Gautis Soundrein des Donald Trump. And he did it with a weapon almost no one else on earth possesses. Decades of Donald Trump's own voice on tape saying exactly who he is. For nearly 30 years, Trump called into the Howard Stern show, relaxed, unguarded, thinking he was among friends, and revealed himself completely. How he talks about women, how he talks about his own family, what he actually values, what he actually thinks. And then, when Trump ran for president and turned on the very media that made him, Howard Stern turned the tapes back on him. He said the thing that cut deepest of all, "I have no respect for Trump or his voters." Today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026, and in the last 24 hours, the man Howard Stern spent decades getting to reveal himself has done it again, announcing a summit with Iran that Iran says never existed, threatening gas stations for the prices his own war caused, and watching his defeated enemy throw a victory party. The tapes told us who this man was years ago. This week, he keeps proving them right. Here's why Howard Stern's voice lands like almost no one else's. Stern was not a lifelong political enemy. For years, he and Trump were genuinely friendly. Trump was one of Stern's favorite recurring guests, a ratings goldmine, a man who would say anything on the air. That friendship is exactly what makes Stern's testimony so devastating. He is not guessing about Donald Trump. He is not analyzing him from the outside. He knew him, talked to him for hours, for years, and heard the real man when the cameras of the political world were off. So when Howard Stern says Donald Trump is not who he pretends to be, that the tough guy populist who claims to love his voters privately holds them in contempt, he is speaking as a first-hand witness. And the tapes back him up. We're going to walk through every piece of it. Pull up a chair. There's a lot here, and it all connects. And it's all on the record in his own voice. And this is what makes Howard Stern different from every other name on the long list of Trump's critics. The senators, the actors, the other hosts, they oppose Trump from the outside, characterizing a man they mostly know from a distance. Stern knew him. For 30 years, Donald Trump sat in Howard Stern's studio and talked and revealed himself because he trusted Stern and thought of him as a friend. So Stern is not offering an interpretation of Donald Trump. He is offering testimony, eyewitness, on the record, backed by tape. And there is no defense against tape. Trump can call a critic a hater, a loser, a person with hatred in her eyes. He cannot call his own recorded voice a hater. That is the trap Howard Stern set without even meaning to. He simply kept the tape rolling for 30 years. And now the most honest record of who Donald Trump is.
Then Donald Trump says the reflecting pool is looking amazing right now. It looks beautiful. When it still looks algae, Ninja Turtle green right now. Folks, let me just show you what was going down again. I want to give a hat tip over here to some of the great patriots who were there photographing what was going down. You have this account, Gene Park, over here saying, there should have been thousands of people listening to us here. Says a plastic surgeon speaking at a state fair celebrating 250 years of America. This was the main event. And you had somebody on stage, and you can see, I don't know, maybe there was 18 people there, and someone is talking about how fake boobs and root canals make you sick, and that was one of the main events taking place. Play this right here.
That are all able to connect about breast implant illness only in the last, call it 5 to 10 years. And so fortunately, these women are now learning about BII. They never knew it previously when they got their breast implants placed. It wasn't until 2021 that it was actually placed on the breast implant black box warning. And even with that, most women that are getting augmented now aren't even told about the potential risks of breast implant illness. So they get sick, and what do? They go to their doctors, they get tests, they get labs, they get put on medications, they're told they've got chronic inflammatory disease.
Hands down, whenever you put him on the air, now this is before he was running for president.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality, right now.
What if you could make a song using only your voice? Let's start with the drums. I'm gonna hit drums and click cover. Yes. This is good. Okay, perfect. I feel like the song needs a rhythm guitar. Dun, 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 dun. Changing it to guitar. I'm gonna type in rhythm guitar. Okay, I like this track. I'm gonna copy it to the main. All right, now we're adding some bass. Bum 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 bum. Okay, let's click on bass, and I'm gonna just click cover. Yes, I like this. Okay, good. All right, adding a synth for the chorus. Pulsing ambient synth. Ooh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna copy the synth to the main track. Let's add a shaker. I'm going to click on percussion, and here I'm just typing in shaker and clicking cover. Let's add it to the main track. Now let's put it all together, and I'm gonna sing. Maybe that's the best part. Yeah, I know that we connected, not just music, but all our heart. And now it's time to try a breaker. It's time to pick the word. I know I deserve a good guy. Maybe you could be the first. And then we'll grow from our past mistakes, 'cause now you're right, not willing to take. All I mean is pretty scary.
He was an open book. He would say anything. And, you know, oddly enough, during the campaign and even now, people quote these interviews that I did with him big time. I was quite surprised when they dragged out every single Donald Trump interview I had done. And in some ways, I felt it was unfair to Trump because, like, for example, they were fond of quoting that Donald Trump had said something to the effect that STDs were his personal Vietnam. But really, it was in a very joking scenario. He was not comparing his life to a Vietnam vet. It was ha, 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 and this and that. But when journalists took it,
to purchase American soybeans and corn and other produce with the funds that have been unfrozen, totaling close to $12 billion. And Iran has no restrictions on what it will do with the oil that it is now shipping out, since the sanctions against its oil and its tankers has been lifted as well. Iran is making billions and billions of dollars every day while Donald Trump is flailing. This is what Donald Trump is posting, and then I'll share with you what's actually going on throughout the world right now. Donald Trump posted, despite their protestations and false statements to the contrary, coupled with the drumbeat of the fake news, which is doing everything possible to make the U.S. victory as small and insignificant as possible, Iran has fully and completely agreed to highest level nuclear inspections long into the future. Infinity, Donald Trump writes. This will ensure nuclear honesty. If they did not agree to this, there would be no further negotiations. Based on this and other major concessions being made by Iran, I have agreed to allow the Hormuz Strait to remain open with no further naval blockade. However, all ships are remaining in place should it be necessary to reinstitute the blockade, which seems at this point highly unlikely. The money and or sanctions that the U.S. Treasury is releasing goes into escrow controlled by the USA and will be used for the purchase of food and medical supplies exclusively from the United States, including corn, wheat, and soybeans from our great American farmers. These are the things that are desperately needed by Iran. Now,
belongs to the one man Trump can no longer charm, spin, or intimidate. If you appreciate this kind of breakdown, the membership is $9 a month, less than a coffee. No corporate parent, no FCC license to renew, no merger to negotiate with this White House. Just us and you. Jump in if you can. Share the video if you can't. Let me start with the tapes because they are the heart of what Howard Stern exposed, a portrait of Donald Trump in his own words that no campaign ad could ever match. Across roughly 3 decades of interviews on The Howard Stern Show, Donald Trump revealed himself again and again. This is where he casually rated women by number and looks. This is where he talked about his own daughter in terms so crude that it became a national scandal. The infamous exchange in which Stern referred to Ivanka as a piece of ass, and Trump, rather than object the way any father would, agreed. This is where Trump discussed walking into the dressing rooms of beauty pageant contestants. This is where the swaggering, appetite-driven, transactional man behind the eventual political image came through with total clarity because Trump felt safe, felt among friends, and let his guard all the way down. Stern's studio was the one place Donald Trump told the truth about himself, not because he meant to, but because he couldn't help it. The reason the Stern archive matters so much is that it is not a single gaffe or a leaked hot mic. It is a pattern established over decades in Trump's own relaxed voice on hundreds of occasions. Anyone can have one bad moment. What the tapes show is not a moment, but a man. The same attitudes, the same appetites, the same casual cruelty, repeated year after year after year, consistent across 3 decades. When the Access Hollywood tape surfaced in 2016, with Trump bragging about grabbing women, half the country was shocked. But nobody who had listened to Howard Stern was shocked because that Trump, the one who talked about women as things to be grabbed and raided and acquired, was the Trump who had been calling into Stern's studio and saying the same kinds of things on the record for 20 years. The Access Hollywood tape was not an aberration. It was a single page torn from a book Howard Stern had been recording the whole time. And that is precisely why the tapes became so politically explosive. When Trump ran for president, those decades of unguarded audio were suddenly the most honest record that existed of his actual character. Everything the campaign tried to sand down and repackage, the crudeness, the vanity, the way he objectified women, the bottomless need for admiration, was all there in his own voice, preserved on Howard Stern's tape. Stern had, without intending to, compiled the single most complete audio documentary of who Donald Trump really is.
And more over here. Let's play this clip right here.
New York City had a bunch of primaries last week. We saw a bunch of socialist candidates win. Did you happen to vote in those primaries?
I did.
Do you feel comfortable sharing who you voted for?
I vote for Brad Lander.
I voted pretty much down the line for those socialist candidates.
Now, you can see why voters are interested in people who are actually addressing their needs versus when Donald Trump was in the Oval Office yesterday before doing whatever the hell he's doing today. He signed an executive order saying that we need to stop arresting people for fixing their cars. Why are you arresting? He goes, that's not even believable. We're doing an executive order today to stop arresting people for fixing their cars. Do you even know what he's talking about here? Here, play this clip.
Attention, because I noticed they were arresting people for fixing their car. They were arresting people for fixing. That's not even believable. Anyway, so it's right to fix. And I think it's really common sense. If somebody wants to fix, some of these people are better mechanics than the mechanics in the shop.
Yeah, that was the executive order yesterday. And then he goes, we rule by common sense to a large extent. Okay, I don't even know what you're, no, we should be ruling by, we should be legislating, not ruling, by law and order, with checks and balances, with laws and bills that become laws through a legislative process. Play this clip.
We rule by common sense to a large extent. All right, Lee, good job. Thank you.
And then Donald Trump's concluding remark.
Journey and his most memorable moments on air.
We have to talk about Donald Trump. He's a big character in the book because
he was a big character on my show.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You say one of your best guests ever.
Design the perfect voice for your brand with 11 Labs. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI-powered voice generating technology. Stop searching for the perfect voice and stop wasting time re-recording take after take. Try 11 Labs for free and start elevating your content today.
Donald Trump.
And then you have the same individual, Gene Park, filming all of this and getting some great footage over here. And it shows more of these conversations about breast implants. And what in the world is even going on? This was one of the main attractions at this event. Here, play this clip.
In the last, call it 5 to 10 years. And so fortunately, these women are now learning about BII. They never knew it. Previously, when they got their breast implants placed, it wasn't until 2021 that it was actually placed on the breast implant black box warning. And even with that, most women that are getting augmented now aren't even told about the potential risks of breast implant illness. So they get sick, and what do? They go to their doctors, they get tests, they get labs, they get put on medications. They're told they've got chronic inflammatory disease. Like you heard Dr. Amen talk about, they've got neuroinflammatory disease. And, they're essentially placed in a bucket that has got no great conditions.
And unlike a critic's characterization, it could not be dismissed as spin because it was just Trump being Trump talking to a friend. You can argue with an opinion. You cannot argue with a man's own recorded voice saying the words himself year after year. Subscribe and share the video if you appreciate this kind of breakdown. Now, about the marriage and about Melania, because this is where I want to be honest with you, and where Howard Stern's insight is sharper than the tabloid version. The cheap take is to dig up old flirty banter. That is not the point, and it is not what matters. What matters is what Howard Stern, who knew Trump for decades, has actually said about the nature of that marriage and that man. Stern has said plainly that he believes the Trump relationship is transactional, that it is not, in his words, built on the kind of love and partnership Trump sells to the public. And the tapes underneath that observation are what give it weight. This is a man who, on Stern's show, treated women as objects to be rated and acquired, who talked about his romantic life like a business of trophies and appearances. Stern isn't inventing a theory about Trump's marriage. He is drawing a conclusion from decades of hearing Donald Trump describe in his own voice exactly how he sees women and relationships. And what Stern heard was not romance. It was transaction. There is also the deeper political point Stern has made, which cuts far past any one relationship. Stern has said again and again that the Donald Trump he knew, the New York media celebrity who palled around with liberal talk show hosts, who held positions all over the map, who was fundamentally a creature of Manhattan entertainment, bears almost no resemblance to the grievance-fueled populist strongman he now plays on television. Stern knows the character is a performance because he knew the man before the performance began. That is what he means when he says he lost respect for Trump. He watched a friend he found genuinely funny and charming reinvent himself as something darker and crueler to win power, and then aim that cruelty at the very working people who trusted him. "I have no respect for Trump or his voters," Stern said. And coming from a man who spent decades laughing with Trump on the air, that is not a partisan talking point. It is the verdict of someone who knew him and was disappointed by what he became. And this is the honest heart of the Trump and Melania story, stripped of the tabloid noise. What Howard Stern exposed was never really about one marriage. It was about a way of seeing people.
Senator, I don't have an estimate in front of me, but we're always working to optimize staffing levels.
Well, I have an estimate from the Partnership for Public Service. They're a nonpartisan entity. They say just that process of having to go through rehiring the same people that were fired cost the taxpayer $12 million. That doesn't sound more efficient to me. Mr. Duncan, your boss at OMB, Director Vogt, has said, quote, "When civil servants wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains." He went on to say, and I quote, "We want to put them in trauma," unquote. Do you see merit-based civil servants as the villains?
Senator, first, Director Vogt has addressed that quote multiple times in this committee.
I'm asking you what you believe. Do you believe civil servants are the villains?
As I mentioned in my testimony, I think the OMB civil servants, who are the ones I work most closely with, as well as Director Vogt, who has a wonderful relationship with those civil servants, are among the best and brightest in the federal government.
Excellent. So you don't want to put them in trauma, do you?
Senator, that quote you're referring to, Director Vogt has addressed, is related to certain bureaucracies in the federal government.
It's just a question for you, not for Mr. Vogt. Do you want to put federal employees in trauma? Yes or no?
Senator, you're directly referring
I'm asking what your view is. Do you think it's a good idea to put federal employees in trauma?
I work very well with the civil servants at OMB. The quote that you're referring to was a reference to weaponized bureaucracies.
Mr. Duncan, I'm asking you right now what your view is. Do you want to put federal employees into trauma? Yes or no?
Senator, like I said, I completely support the civil servants that work at OMB. And that quote that you're referring to has been taken out of context
I was
and it's
asking
been addressed by the director up here.
So it's interesting you don't want to provide a
You know, I haven't seen you since Trump got elected, oddly enough. Yeah, I think
we've seen each other.
No, I don't think
really?
Since that. And, you know, obviously the show is very Trump-oriented when you do your thing because it's what people are talking about. It's all anybody talks about.
Right.
It's almost like no other news is happening.
Well, he's the biggest news that's happening.
He's the biggest news. So I'm imagining, because I see it on my show, if I say anything slightly negative about Trump, slightly negative, fans will call in and go, would you fucking stop talking about politics?
Right.
Would you cut this shit already? Everyone thinks.
All right, well, we can see at the closing bell at 7:04 p.m. right here. Nope, nobody there. Nobody there. Jonathan Turley, who I guess purports to be a constitutional lawyer at George Washington University, although everything he says seems to want to destroy the Constitution. He says, "I just finished an interview on the Supreme Court from the temporary Fox studio. While it is scorching hot, it's a gorgeous view. Here's how it looks from inside." Yeah, there's nobody there right here. And I guess somebody then called Turley. You know, he's one of Donald Trump's sycophants. And Turley goes, "The people who I spoke with were having a ball, watching a rodeo, as well as World Cup games. I attended the 1976 celebrations as a young page, and this is even more grand. If you can, you should make it down to the mall." It's not more grand. What are you talking about? Okay? There's nobody who's there right now, and this could have just been a great event. You had Amanda Moore showing this satire AP account, milking a cow. That was one of the main attractions. Play this clip. Then you had state regime media Fox saying there were tens of thousands of people at the Texas booth. Anarchy Princess, who's done an amazing job covering this, and she does an amazing job covering everything. Here's
If you got hit, even if you were not driving, you need to try this.
Because if you were in a car accident in the last year, you could be owed a large cash payment and not even know it. Even if you weren't driving, all you have to do is click the link in this video, answer 5 simple questions about your accident, and see if you have a case that could be worth money, like this, or even like this. If the accident wasn't your fault and it happened in the last 12 months, you could be owed a lot more than you think. And this doesn't just apply to drivers. If you were a passenger in an Uber, walking, riding a bike, or on a motorcycle, you may still qualify. Most people never check, and insurance companies are hoping you don't. So, don't skip this. Click the link and see what your case could be worth. People all over the country have already received checks for tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they did it without going to court. That's because there's money already set aside for accidents like these. For example, Stacy didn't think her accident was a big deal, but after checking, she ended up receiving $90,000.
Oh my God!
And if your accident wasn't your fault, you may be able to get money for time you missed at work, medical bills, pain and suffering, damage to your car, and you don't have to pay anything up front. You don't have to fight insurance companies, and you don't have to deal with lawyers trying to take advantage of you. Checking is easy. Just click the link and answer 5 quick questions. It takes about 30 seconds. Most people think, whatever the insurance company offers me is all I can get. That's not true. That's what Jessica thought too. The insurance company told her her injuries weren't worth much, even though her medical bills kept going up. Then she found auto relief assistance, and she ended up getting 5 times more than what the insurance company first offered. Her final settlement was $72,000.
We got a settlement for $72,000. Oh my gosh, are you serious?
If you're even a little curious what your accident could be worth, click the link and check. Here's what happens next. Within minutes, an accident analyst in your local area will call you directly to review your accident. They'll determine right then and there if you have a case. And if you do, they handle everything for you. No chasing paperwork, no arguing with insurance companies, no out-of-pocket costs. You just sit back and wait to get paid. Some cases can even settle in just a few short months.
Look what came in today, $72,000. You heard that right? That's literally life-changing money for me. Just to be clear, I did not do anything special to get this check. I just followed a couple simple steps. All I know, I was injured in an accident that was not my fault, and I had insurance when it happened. So if that sounds like your situation, let me show you exactly what I did. I clicked on this site, I answered a few quick questions, and requested a free case evaluation. After I submitted, literally within 2 minutes, I was called by a case analyst in my area.
To see if your accident qualifies, click the link below and answer the 5 questions. Now, some people feel uncomfortable doing this. They don't want to cause problems. They worry it feels greedy. But this isn't about greed. If the accident wasn't your fault, you shouldn't be paying for it. Insurance companies will keep the money if you don't speak up. You have the right to see what you're owed. Now imagine what that money can do for you. $10,000, $50,000, or even $100,000. Bills paid, a safer car, less stress. That's what this is really about. One last thing you should know. There's a time limit on accident claims. In many cases, you only have about 12 months from the accident to take action. After that, the chance is gone. No reminders, no warnings. The insurance company keeps the money. So if your accident happened within the last year, don't wait. Click the link, answer 5 simple questions, and see what your case could be worth while you still can.
It's pretty hard to tell that I'm AI, right?
Well, I want to show you how you can create me in less than 5 minutes.
You could literally make 10 of me, each with different backgrounds and outfits.
I could be the face of your brand. I could teach a course.
Or I could be in your ads.
But here's what most people don't know.
You do not need expensive AI subscriptions to make this happen. Let's go!
You just need to know the right AI tools and how to use them.
In just 2 days, I'll show you how to unlock the most advanced AI filmmaking and content creation tools without paying a cent in overpriced subscriptions. And with these tools, you'll learn how to create scroll-stopping videos that rack up millions of views, craft wildly profitable online ads that blow up your brand, and turn any creative idea into a powerful short film that looks like it belongs on the Hollywood screen. But it's not just AI filmmaking that you're gonna learn. With AI, you can create any image or graphic you can imagine. You can create full-blown viral YouTube thumbnails in seconds. Your website, your emails, your infographics, your entire business can be built with AI. People are using AI to build full content calendars in seconds. AI can come up with countless viral ideas. You can even script and storyboard your content, all while keeping your unique creative voice. You just need to know the right tools and how to use them. ContentCreator.com is having its biggest sale of the year, where you can get our AI creator course, our viral video effects editing course, and our pack of editing templates for a crazy low price. Let's start with the AI creator course. It costs less than a dinner date with your grandma, but like so many of our students tell us, it will blow your mind. Now, before I show you exactly what you'll learn in this course, I want to ease your mind with a few important details. Number one, this course was designed to help you avoid paying expensive subscriptions for AI tools. We show you these secret ways to access the most popular tools without signing up for monthly or yearly plans. Right away, this is going to save you a ton of money. Number two, this course is perfect for complete AI beginners and seasoned AI veterans. We have a beginner's crash course that gets you up to speed super fast, and then advanced sections that leave pros who use AI every day completely speechless. Number three, this course is the only AI course that receives weekly updates, so you can ensure that you're staying on top of all of the rapidly changing AI technology. Many of our students say that this is their favorite aspect of the program. And finally, number four, this course has a no questions asked refund policy. The only reason we've been able to enroll over 200,000 students at Content.
Here's what she was able to film. Here, play this clip.
Catch us tomorrow. Go Texas.
The same man who, on Stern's tapes, rated women and treated relationships as acquisitions is the man now running the country. And the transactional coldness Stern heard in Trump's voice about women is the same coldness the country now sees in how he treats allies, voters, and the truth itself. Stern's insight was never gossip. It was character analysis, drawn from the source. He heard how Donald Trump talked about the people closest to him when he thought no one important was listening, and he concluded that a man who talks that way about his own family and his own romantic life will talk that way about a nation. This week, announcing fake summits, threatening gas stations, letting a sexual abuse verdict stand, Trump is simply being, on the world stage, the man Howard Stern heard in the studio all those years. Hit subscribe if this kind of breakdown is what you're here for. Share the video. The corporate media won't connect any of these dots. Stern went further and more personal than almost any other celebrity in America. During the 2024 campaign, he came off the fence entirely, endorsing Trump's opponent and telling his massive audience that he could not stay neutral about a man he believed was a genuine danger. He talked about the friendship ending, about how it broke something in him to see who Trump had become. He mocked Trump's fragility, his obsession with crowd sizes and ratings and being laughed at. And crucially, Stern speaks to an audience that is not a typical political audience, millions of ordinary, apolitical, working-class listeners, exactly the kind of people Trump claims as his base. When Howard Stern tells that audience that Trump privately has contempt for them, it lands in a way a cable news panel never could. Stern is not preaching to the choir. He is talking to the congregation Trump thinks he owns, and he is telling them the truth. And Stern paid a price for it, which is worth remembering. When Stern turned on Trump, Trump did what Trump always does. He attacked, sneering that Stern had lost his mojo, that his show was fading, that he'd been captured by the radical left. But Stern didn't flinch, and the reason he didn't flinch is instructive. He genuinely doesn't need anything from Donald Trump. He is one of the most successful broadcasters in American history, financially independent, beholden to no network executive who might get a nervous phone call from the White House. Like the independent voices thriving right now while the corporate networks fold, Howard Stern has no lever for Trump to pull. He can say exactly what he witnessed without fear, because there is nothing Trump can take from him. That freedom is why his testimony is so much more valuable than the careful hedged coverage on the networks that are busy settling their own lawsuits with the president. There is something almost tragic in the way Stern describes it, and it is the opposite of partisan glee. Stern has talked about genuinely liking the old Trump.
Yeah, there's nobody at the Texas booth at all. Okay, then after you had that one doctor talking about, maybe two people on stage talking about breast implants and root canals. And I mean, that was like, that's their concert. That's their concert. Then you had Dr. Oz on stage with Dean Cain talking about how great the crowd was. And then the TMZ camera panned and you saw that there was nobody there really. I mean, maybe like 75 people. You could count for yourself. Here, play this clip.
And it's because there's tons of people here. It's a huge space, and it's just going to get more and more crowded as the week goes on. Not only do we have a lot of people here, we have people you want to have, like Stacey Garrity. That woman's going to be next governor of Pennsylvania. There right we there. go. Yep, look at her, that beautiful red hair. And it's because there's tons of people here. It's a huge space, and it's just going to get more and more crowded as the week goes on. Not only do we have a lot of people here, we have people you want to have, like Stacey Garrity. That woman's going to be next governor of Pennsylvania. There right we there. Go. Yep, look at her, that beautiful red hair.
And made it serious. I thought it was a little bit unfair. Having said that, though, Donald Trump would come on my show, and this is why he was great. There was no filter. I go, Donald, Angelina Jolie, she's one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. She's a 6, you know. Now, who says that? You know, most people, if they're having that thought, keep that pretty guarded. Not Donald. He was right into it. Ivanka Trump.
You know who's one of the great beauties of the world, according to everybody, and I helped create her? Who? Ivanka.
Most beautiful girl in the world. You know, I would marry her. These types of things.
Why waste another summer not loving your body?
With Base 44, we turn that question into a successful business.
A woman has an average of 80 summers in her life. Our brand is about enjoying every single one.
We want women to feel secure in their own bodies
and to celebrate themselves. We got an opportunity for a pop-up.
And we need
our land, this is our area. And then they were struck down, and then the U.S. said that we were acting defensive by attacking Iran yet again. This was defensive. This was not aggressive. We were on the defense by going on the offense. This is straight out of George Orwell's 1984. In fact, far more dangerous in my view. But then Iran responded, and Iran just targeted the U.S. air base and hit it again. Meanwhile, you have all Donald Trump's weirdo MAGA propagandists like Laura Loomer saying, it's time to finish the job. The back and forth is getting boring. The back and forth is getting boring. You know, the American people are suffering right now as a result of this catastrophic war, and people across the world are suffering. And the Trump regime and Netanyahu have engaged in terrible war crimes in Iran, in Lebanon, genocide in Gaza. I mean, did you know that in the past 24 hours, 41 people were killed and 140 people were wounded in Israeli strikes across Lebanon on Saturday, which frankly should be called U.S. and Israeli strikes across Lebanon because Trump is green-lighting this. According to Lebanon's health ministry, Israeli attacks have killed 3,412 people and wounded 10,269 others since Israel escalated its assault on March 2nd. And we've seen amongst these 41 people killed and 140 wounded, children, mothers, lots of innocent people. And again, that doesn't get any attention at all. That's right by the city of Tyre.
Finding him funny, entertaining, a great guest, a friend. His disillusionment is not the disillusionment of an enemy who was always looking for a reason. It is the disillusionment of a friend who watched someone he knew choose cruelty and lies as a path to power, and then turn that cruelty on the very people who trusted him most. That is what gives I have no respect for Trump or his voters its weight. It is not a cheap shot. It is the sound of a man who knew Donald Trump better than almost any public figure alive, finally concluding that the person he knew had become something he could no longer respect. And when the man who has the tapes, the actual literal recordings of who Trump is, reaches that conclusion, the country should listen. Now bring it all the way to the present, because the news from the last 24 hours and the last week is a relentless confirmation of the character Howard Stern captured on tape decades ago. The vain, dishonest, admiration-hungry man who cannot tell the truth and cannot take responsibility. Start with the freshest humiliation, because it is pure distilled Trump. On Monday, Trump posted a triumphant all-caps announcement: Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha. Iran is coming to me. I am in control. And then, over the next 24 hours, the entire thing collapsed in public. Iran's chief negotiator had already said before Trump even posted that no meetings were scheduled. Iran's foreign ministry called Trump's claim that Tehran requested the meeting fake news. And Qatar itself, the host, confirmed the truth through its foreign ministry spokesman. Trump's envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, were in Doha to meet with Qatari mediators. But, in the spokesman's own words, they are not here for direct negotiations with the Iranians. The summit Trump announced to the world did not exist. This is the exact man Howard Stern knew, the one who says whatever makes him look powerful in the moment, whether or not it is remotely true. And think about what that reveals, because it is the core of everything Stern understood. The most basic thing a president's word is supposed to do is be true when he states a plain fact. When the president says, there will be a meeting tomorrow, the world is supposed to be able to believe him. Donald Trump has burned through that so completely that when he announces a summit, the responsible thing is to wait for the other government to confirm whether it's real. And this week, 3 separate parties, Iran's negotiator, Iran's foreign ministry, and the host government of Qatar, all contradicted the President of the United States on the simple question of whether a meeting was happening. That is not a man being caught in a spin. That is a man whose word has stopped meaning anything at all. Howard Stern spent 30 years listening to Donald Trump say whatever served him in the moment. Stern is the least surprised man in America. He heard it all coming 30 years ago in his own studio, and it gets more humiliating. While Trump was announcing a fictional meeting, Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, was calling the entire deal a great victory for the Iranian people. The country Trump spent $100 billion and 13 American lives bombing, the country he threatened just days ago would no longer exist, is publicly celebrating the agreement as its own win.
As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes, they just continue to insist that there are massive crowds showing up to this thing, despite the fact that this is also the 200th anniversary of the invention of a camera. Then you have state regime media Fox saying, there's a lumberjack demonstration going on in the center of the fair. Here, play this clip.
Right. We should point out there's a lumberjack demonstration going on in the center of the state fair. That chainsaw is unlike any chainsaw that I have ever owned in my life. It sounds like it's got a 500cc motocross engine on it. That thing is super.
I bet you Sean Duffy knows a little bit about that, right?
Sure, he probably does. Yeah, we're showing it on screen right now. So there you can see it. Sean Duffy's going to be joining us tomorrow, apparently, so you can talk more about it.
Andrew Leadon shows what the reflecting pool looks like right now, unmodified photos. Amanda Moore posted a video of what the reflecting pool looked like. It's still that sludge green. Our friend Jim Acosta went to this event, the Great American State Fair. Here's what he was able to observe. I'll show you his experience first. Here, play this clip.
I'm 40 years old. Last month, I caught my wife crying in the bathroom because I couldn't get hard in bed. She wouldn't even look at me anymore. We're basically roommates, so I tried everything. Rhino 69, $22 at a gas station. Got nothing but a pounding headache. Some Amazon herbal blend, $42. Did absolutely nothing. Zinc and magnesium pills,
right when you get your Doge dividend checks. It's right around the corner. Everything's right around. Just you wait. 2025 is going to be our year, but then we moved it to 2026. 2025 set the foundation. 2026 is the banquet. 2027 right around the corner. You're going to be, it's 2028. It's going to be 2020. And then 2029, let's just blame the new person in office and say that was the person who did it. We'll blame Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci did it. We'll blame Obama. or Biden or Hunter Biden. Anyway, here's what MAGA Republican Congress member Fry said. Let's play it.
Congressman, are you going to the 250th anniversary of the United States, this event that's going on in the mall right now?
I'll be there later this week with my family, yeah.
Okay. Why do you think it has been well attended so far?
Well, it's a weekday, for sure. So I think as people start to flood into the nation's capital to celebrate, you're going to start to see increased crowds. So people will go to that. They'll go to any number of things that are around here, visiting our museums, seeing the monuments that are open to the public. So it's all part of enjoying the history, the rich history of this country.
There you have it, folks, I guess.
And the $6 billion in frozen assets Iran came to Doha to collect? Qatar confirmed it has not even been transferred yet and will only be released according to the advancement of negotiations. So Iran declared victory, refused to meet Trump, and hasn't even gotten its money. And Trump still announced a triumphant summit. The gap between the boast and the reality is the whole Donald Trump story, and Howard Stern has been pointing at that gap since the 1990s. And it gets more humiliating. While Trump was announcing a fictional meeting, Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, was calling the entire deal a great victory for the Iranian people. The country Trump spent $100 billion and 13 American lives bombing, the country he threatened just days ago would no longer exist, is publicly celebrating the agreement as its own win. And the $6 billion in frozen assets Iran came to Doha to collect? Qatar confirmed it has not even been transferred yet and will only be released according to the advancement of negotiations. So Iran declared victory, refused to meet Trump, and hasn't even gotten its money. And Trump still announced a triumphant summit. The gap between the boast and the reality is the whole Donald Trump story, and Howard Stern has been pointing at that gap since the 1990s. If you're getting value from this breakdown, the membership is $9 a month, less than a cup of coffee, and it fuels independent journalism while the corporate networks settle lawsuits and cancel the hosts who tell the truth. Jump in if you can. Share the video if you can't. Then there is the detail that reeks of exactly the kind of self-dealing the tapes always hinted at. The man Trump sent to Doha to negotiate is his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, whose private equity firm, Affinity Partners, took $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund after he left the first Trump White House, plus large investments from the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, the very Gulf countries at the center of these negotiations. Kushner has waved off the obvious conflict of interest with a line that could have come straight off a Stern Show tape. What people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trusted relationships. Experience and trusted relationships. That is the family business Howard Stern always understood Trump to be running. Everything transactional, everything for the family, the line between public duty and private profit simply erased. Sit with the arrangement for a second because it is genuinely stunning. The president's son-in-law runs a private investment fund that has taken billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. That same son-in-law is now the president's personal envoy, dispatched to Qatar to negotiate a Middle East deal involving those exact governments, the ones who wrote him those checks. There's no wall between the family's private financial interests and the foreign policy of the United States. There isn't even a curtain, and the family's response to anyone who points this out is a shrug and a smirk. Experience and trusted relationships. Howard Stern spent decades listening to Donald Trump describe a worldview in which everything is a transaction and everything flows to the family. This is that worldview running American foreign policy in real time, with the world's most sensitive negotiations handed to a man financially entangled with the very countries across the table.
You have either fallen victim to the conspiracy mindset that says that election was rigged. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, you shouldn't be let anywhere near the position you've been nominated for. Or, President Biden won the election, but you're afraid of making an insecure president mad by acknowledging that fact. You answered so easily when I asked you the question about 2024. You didn't fight, you didn't evade, you didn't obscure, you didn't try to end run. You said President Trump won the election, which he did. He won the popular vote, he won the Electoral College. The answer was just as simple about 2020. The fact that you were unable to give the simple answer about 2020 raises real serious questions about you. Let me ask you this.
Then we move on to Democratic Senator Blumenthal, who was cross-examining one of Donald Trump's pick, Bartholomew, about the same types of questions. Here, let's play this clip right here.
Yes. So let me test your independence.
That are with us. But don't the Democrats and various seemingly unpatriotic Republicans understand that this is much tougher for me to properly do my job and negotiate when political hacks keep negatively chirping at levels never seen before over and over again that I should move faster or move slower or go to war or not go to war or whatever. Just sit back and relax. It will all work out well in the end. It always does, DJT. Is that the most pathetic damn...
Most people... Certainly politicians don't say.
Well, no question about it. Do you feel that in some way you helped make him president?
Absolutely. Because Donald would come on my show. I mean, look.
Does it make you feel bad or good?
Well, look, I did not vote for Donald Trump. I go into great lengths in this book, and I think people will be interested in this. Hillary Clinton, you know, like in Moby Dick, I was chasing her. She was my obsession. I wanted to see Hillary Clinton win, and I thought if she'd come.
Well, here we are in the National Mall checking out the Great American State Fair, Donald Trump's version of America's 250th birthday here in the nation's capital. And if you're looking for a place with really no lines whatsoever, then you better come down to the mall. There's even a miniature version of Donald Trump's arch. Isn't that cute? Look at that little thing right there. Yeah, as you can see, no line to get in. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're on the National Mall. It's probably the nicest weather of the week, and there are no lines to get in. Hardly anybody in line. Surely there must be a long line for the Ferris wheel. It's the big attraction down here. Let's take a look. Oh boy. Yeah, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's about lunchtime. I'm a little parched. Could use a burger or something. I hope there's not a long line in here. This is the arch that they put down on the National Mall. Look at this. There's a huge gap. I mean, this is a pretty good example of the shoddy construction down here. Look at these gaps in between these faux columns and one of the main pavilions down here and the actual ground. It's like 2 or 3 feet. But Trump is everywhere, like inside this agriculture department booth. You can also sign up for Trump's savings accounts in the Treasury Department booth. And where would the Great American State Fair be without their own propagandists? Yes, there they are. There's Fox News doing their programming from down here on the National Mall, probably telling everybody what a massive celebration there is going on down here. The fossil fuel industry seems to have their own little talk that's going on. They're doing like a panel discussion, and there's nobody listening, just a few people.
The threats that are growing with the growth of AI, the ability before you need a nation.
Well, in one of these pavilions, I found a sweeping exhibit that can only be described as an ode to the religious right.
Here we have our great nation that we want to make great again.
And back home, in the same 24 hours, Trump lashed out at the one consequence of his war Americans feel directly: gas prices. He posted in all caps, gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately, warning that if they didn't, big problems lie ahead. Trump started a war with Iran. The war disrupted the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil flows. Prices went up, and his response is to threaten the gas station owners, as if the corner station started the war. It is the tell of a man who has never once accepted responsibility for a consequence of his own actions. Everything is someone else's fault. That is the Trump Howard Stern knew. Charming, funny, and utterly incapable of admitting he was ever wrong about anything. The courts, meanwhile, delivered a split verdict on his power in the same window. The Supreme Court handed Trump a sweeping win, ruling 6-3 that he can fire and replace the commissioners of independent agencies, overturning more than 90 years of precedent. But in the same breath, the court blocked him from firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, with Chief Justice Roberts calling the attempt an interpretive leap out of step with the law. And separately, the court quietly declined to hear Trump's appeal of the $5 million verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case. The civil finding that he sexually abused and defamed her. That verdict is now final. There is no higher court. The sitting president is, as a settled matter of American law, a man a jury found sexually assaulted a woman. The same appetites and entitlement Howard Stern's tapes captured in Trump's own voice decades ago, now confirmed by a jury and left standing by the highest court in the land. Think about how those two things fit together. Decades ago, on Stern's show, Trump bragged in his own voice about the way he treated women. Years later, a jury heard evidence and found he had sexually abused one. This week, the Supreme Court he reshaped let that finding stand for good. The line runs straight from the studio tape to the courtroom verdict. The same man, the same character, documented across 30 years by a friend who was recording the whole time. And the war, Stern warned this man, was too reckless to handle keeps unraveling. This past week, just days ago, the U.S. struck Iran 3 times in 3 weeks. Iran struck back at U.S. military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain, and Trump threatened on Truth Social that the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist. Trump claimed Iran agreed to inspections into the future, infinity. Iran flatly denied it. He got into a shouting match with Republican Senator Bill Cassidy in a closed-door meeting. His administration asked Congress for about $87.6 billion to pay for the war. Cassidy called the deal the worst foreign policy blunder in decades, writing that Reagan is rolling over in his grave. Senator Tom Tillis said $100 billion has been spent since the first kinetic strike. We've lost 2 F-18s. The deal itself, CNN reported plainly, is widely viewed as highly favorable to Tehran. It emerged Iran had offered to downblend its uranium 2 days before the war even started, meaning Trump fought a $100 billion war to reach a deal he could have had for free.
Save time creating content and generate a high-quality clone of your voice with 11 Labs. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI-powered voice-generating technology. Stop searching for the perfect voice and stop wasting time re-recording take after take. Try 11 Labs for free and start.
All right, so that was Acosta's experience. Then you have Daniel Basali, who I believe is a Trump supporter. And he was out there. I think this guy's a MAGA guy and Trump supporter. And he said, just another example of what's online isn't reality. We've met thousands of Americans from all over at the @AFP headquarter exhibit at the Great American State Fair. Okay, I'll just you could just watch what he's filming. I mean, I'll go by your own video right here. Here, play this clip.
I am walking out from the Made in America Pavilion at the Great American State Fair, and I just gotta say, you cannot pay attention to what some of the haters are saying. This thing is awesome. There are people everywhere. It is a beautiful day in Washington, D.C. A little hot. It's only gonna get hotter, but there's a lot of people out here. They are engaged, they are excited, they love America, they're having a great time learning more about this country. It's just been a really positive experience. And so what you see online ain't always the truth.
So then we asked members on Capitol Hill about this event. Congresswoman Ansari, we asked, what do you make of no one showing up to the 250th? Play this clip.
So Congresswoman, what do you make of no one showing up to Donald Trump's 250th anniversary party on the Mall?
I'm not surprised at all. Nobody wants to be associated with the most corrupt president in American history who has absolutely destroyed this country as he's enriched himself and his family. So it was hilarious and pretty sad to see Fox News with the empty background behind them trying to tout this as some sort of success.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Iran and Oman would be able to jointly administer it however they want. If they want to charge costs, that's permitted in the MOU. Now, as I noted before, you have dozens of tankers leaving the Strait of Hormuz, but the first armada of oil right now, it's Iranian oil. Over a dozen tankers laden with Iranian crude steaming east following the end of the U.S. blockade. Iran was ready to go with all of its ships, and it's pushing out dozens and dozens of ships right now. Let's talk about what Pakistan is saying right now. What happened? So after Araghchi visited Muscat, Oman, you see they're making strategic moves right now in Iran. They then go to Pakistan. They meet with Prime Minister Sharif. And here's what Prime Minister Sharif, the mediator, okay? Again, going back to the mediator, this is who the U.S. wants to mediate the dispute between the U.S. and the war, or the surrender by the U.S. and this catastrophic war against Iran. It's this guy, Prime Minister Sharif. It's also Field Marshal Munir. But here's what, and Qatar has been involved. But here's what Sharif says. There cannot be a double standard where some countries can have ballistic missiles and Iran should not. You cannot digest this kind of duplicity. In other words, the mediator says Iran gets its ballistic missiles. The mediator, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Sharif, also says there are spoilers all over the world who want to scuttle this peace deal. They don't want the Iranian nation, a great nation, to come out of the ashes of war and touch the zenith of glory, referring to Israel. Sharif then says the MOU does not mention ballistic missiles. He also says, I'm very grateful to the Iranian leadership for having trust in Pakistan's ability to mediate with honesty. I want to assure you that as brothers, we will never let you down. We offer our deepest condolences on the killing of innocent Iranian brothers and sisters, including children whose numbers have reached into the thousands. Please convey my warmest regards to His Eminence, the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini. Thanks to his leadership, Iran has been able to achieve this MOU. As a result, a ceasefire with dignity and honor.
More than 3,800 people have been killed in Lebanon, where Israel has announced an extended stay, despite the deal's promise to end operations there. Iran even rejected a French plan to help clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz, warning Paris against provocations because Iran wants sole control of the waterway, and the deal effectively hands it to them, giving Tehran a formal role in defining the future administration of a strait that used to be international. Meanwhile, Iran's slain Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's funeral has been scheduled for July 4th through 9th, with his son Mojtaba installed as the new Supreme Leader. The dynastic succession Trump's war did nothing to prevent. Even Pope Leo XIV said this week that war is never blessed by God. And the Vanity Stern documented for decades was on full display at Trump's own 250th anniversary Great American State Fair last week. The event that fell apart before it began with musical acts dropping out and a fifth of the states refusing to send delegations. His transportation secretary called the no-show musicians libtards from the stage. Attendees were seen flocking toward the exits in the middle of Trump's campaign-style speech. And the next day, Trump posted that at least 45,000 people were there, a claim NBC News flatly called false. He posted it once, and then, as NBC noted, 5 hours later, either trying to convince the public or himself, he posted it again, insisting the rally was packed, 45,000 people. Crowd-size lies in 2026, exactly as Stern always said. A man whose need to be seen as bigger, more loved, more watched than he actually is, overrides even his grip on reality. Howard Stern watched this exact insecurity up close for 30 years. The desperate, bottomless hunger to be perceived as a winner. The inability to let even an empty field be an empty field. On June 14th, at his 80th birthday UFC night at the White House, he fell asleep on camera while a fighter hurled a slur at Michelle Obama, and he smirked. On June 8th, he became the first sitting president ever to attend an NBA Finals game at Madison Square Garden, where he was thunderously booed. On June 7th, he stormed off Meet the Press after Kristen Welker pressed him, telling her, "You're either crooked or you're stupid," before crushing his microphone. Trump's history of attacking people is now an open part of the public record. Quiet Piggy to Bloomberg's Catherine Lucy, most obnoxious reporter to ABC's Rachel Scott, a dumb person to MS Now's Akayla Gardner, hatred in her eyes to CNN's Caitlin Collins, either crooked or stupid to Kristen Welker, smirking at the slur against Michelle Obama, a stupid son of a bitch about Barack Obama, blow the same out of them about Iran. I'm blaming JD about his own vice president. The pattern is the message, and it is the exact character Howard Stern's tapes captured before anyone else was listening. A man whose default mode is contempt. The Republican defection list keeps growing. Pence, Cruz, Graham, Wicker, Massey, Fitzpatrick, Barrett, Davidson, Bill Cassidy, now in an open shouting match with Trump.
We asked AOC what she felt. Here, play this clip.
So, Congresswoman, what do you make of nobody showing up to Donald Trump's 250th anniversary party on the Mall?
I mean, we all know he clears a route, right? So it's no news what we're breaking there.
Got it. Thank you.
We then asked Democratic Congress member Magaziner. Here's what he had to tell us when the Midas Touch cameras asked him. Let's play this clip.
Harrison, real quick, why do you think that no one is showing up to Donald Trump's 250th party on the National Mall?
I mean, I don't know. Because it's not good. Like it's not well executed. I actually I know I should like have some kind of like a clever, funny thing to say about this, but like I'm actually sad about it. Like,
yeah.
America 250, like this was like a time when like we should be coming together as a nation, and like any other president, any other person of either party would have like approached it in that spirit and tried to make it about the country instead of Trump trying to make it about himself. And this was just like a real missed opportunity, to bring us together as a country. And instead, because Trump is who he is and only cares about himself and like wants to like just like constantly be feeding his own ego, he put together this like shitty event that no one's at. And you see like the clips on Fox News where they're like talking about how great it is, and then behind them it's like an empty field. Right. But like honestly, like it just makes me sad. Like I wish that we had a leader in this country that actually cared about bringing people together instead of just like constantly putting himself first.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open an account. When you're ready to record, just hit rec to capture high-quality audio and video, all from the comfort of, well, anywhere. Even if the only camera you have is on your phone. With Riverside, you'll still look like a pro. The equipment doesn't matter. You'll get a professional-looking podcast using anything you already have at home. When it comes to editing, it's truly idiot-proof. Even with zero experience, you can create content like an experienced editor using Riverside's AI tool.
In terms of either you're for Trump or against Trump. Now, with you being like so forcefully, your comedy is brutal.
Yeah.
About Trump. He even calls you out about it.
Yeah.
Are you threatened at all? Do people get emotional with you? Do they start screaming at you if you go out to a restaurant?
No. I mean, let's be honest. I live in Manhattan, which is a
liberal town.
Yep. Right. But also, I do feel like because we've been very open about what our show is,
right.
I think if you love Donald Trump, you've probably chosen to disengage.
Senator, I appreciate the question. As you know, with 2 CFR, it's signed off by all 41 agencies.
Right, but in your mind, you're asking to be a decision maker, right? So I understand there's a chain. I was a federal government employee for a long time, but you're up here for Senate confirmation, so it's a big job. Is a protest, a First Amendment peaceful protest on a college campus threaten the federal dollars that they are getting for cancer research under the rules that you will be enforcing? Yes or no?
Senator, you're asking a hypothetical question, but I would note that this
Well, we have protests. We do. I mean, I have University of Michigan and Michigan State. There are protests from time to time, that's for sure. So it's not hypothetical. This is something that literally in 15, 20 days you could be dealing with. Is a First Amendment protest on a college campus enough to be, quote, anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration?
In the hypothetical question that you're asking related to grants for cancer research, this administration is committed to gold standard science and wants to advance the best cancer research that we possibly can.
Okay, so if they can have a protest on their campus, and I would just say slashing cancer research and slashing our science institutions around the country, and making us have to be literally 1/10 of the medical research that's going on in like places like China and Europe is not a way to uphold a gold standard for cancer research. And I say that for a woman who's got cancer in her family. If a domestic violence shelter receives a federal grant, but they also post complaints about this administration's cutting of domestic violence funding, will that put them at risk of being labeled anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration?
Senator, again, you're asking hypothetical questions. The ultimate deciders of these grants will be the political employees at the agencies. I would imagine in this situation, it would likely be HHS.
The political employees? The political appointees like yourself.
The political appointees. OMB does not issue grants. We issue guidance, uniform guidance on grants. So I would not make decisions on a specific grant.
But if someone calls you, I mean, again, this is like you can't want the big job, but then not answer the big questions. I think the idea that First Amendment activities would be, quote, anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration, you understand that you're creating a climate of fear around things that are actually, it's the opposite of anti-American. It's the most American thing in the world, the First Amendment. So I think you've raised a lot of concerns in your testimony of the last couple of days, but the idea that the administration would put that kind of language out there to intimidate and scare people out of freedom of speech is something that is the most anti-American thing I've seen in a long time.
calling the Iran deal the worst foreign policy blunder in decades. Tillis revealing the $100 billion price tag. Tucker Carlson apologized to his audience in April for misleading supporters. Mary Trump on CNN. Donald Trump has never been fit in any capacity. George Conway running for Congress on a third impeachment platform. The cultural opposition is full spectrum. Whoopi Goldberg, deballed America. Sonny Hostin, beneath the dignity. Rosie O'Donnell, con man, narcissist, psychopath. Barack Obama, worse off. Robert De Niro, monstrous leaders. Bruce Springsteen, shout loud enough to be heard at the White House. George Clooney, war crime. Bill Maher, derangement syndrome. Trevor Noah, sexual deviant. Jimmy Kimmel, retreaty of Versailles. Alec Baldwin, who won an Emmy mocking him. Taylor Swift cheered in the arena that booed him. Tom Hanks, branded destructive for being decent. Jim Carrey, who warned in paint of an extinction-level event. And Howard Stern, who has the receipts, decades of them, in Trump's own voice. And here's why Howard Stern's voice matters more than almost any other on that list. Every other critic is, in some sense, on the outside, analyzing Trump, opposing him, characterizing him. Howard Stern was on the inside. He was a friend. He has the tapes. He heard Donald Trump, relaxed and unguarded, over hundreds of hours across 30 years, and he knows, not suspects knows, that the man selling himself to working Americans as their tough guy champion is a Manhattan celebrity who privately rates women by number, talks about his own daughter as an object, runs everything through the family for profit, and holds his own voters in quiet contempt. Stern cannot be told he doesn't understand the real Trump, because Stern knew the real Trump before the fake one was invented. That is the unique, unanswerable power of his testimony. When Howard Stern says, "I have no respect for Trump or his voters," he is not sneering from a distance. He is grieving a friend who chose to become a monster and warning the people that friend is lying to. Drop a comment with the Howard Stern moment that hit hardest for you. Was it his blunt, "I have no respect for Trump or his voters"? The decades of tapes that captured how Trump really talks about women?
Got it. Thank you, Harrison.
We then got a hold of Democratic Congress member Olszewski. Here's what he told us. Let's play it.
So, Congressman, why do you think no one is showing up to Donald Trump's 250th anniversary?
Because his party sucks.
Yeah.
There's nothing fun to do.
Right.
Even Vanilla Ice canceled on him last minute because the weather was supposed to be bad, but it turned out being just fine. So, if you throw bad parties, no one's going to come.
I assume you're not going.
No, I will not be there with anything that is specifically aligned with the president.
Got it.
Anyone who makes this about himself as opposed to the 250th anniversary of our amazing country deserves the party alone.
Got it. Thank you, Harrison.
Here's what Congress member Pocan had to say to us. Let's play it.
So why do you think no one's showing up to Trump's 250th party on the mall?
Because it's got all of Trump's sensibilities, everything from LG to bad music. It's Donald Trump personified, so no one's shown up.
Thank you, Harrison.
And here's what MAGA Republican Congress member Fry told us. He said, the real issue why there was not many people there was it's a weekday. And don't worry, you'll start to see the crowds and people start flooding in. It's right around the corner, right when the healthcare plan gets here, right when we have a deal with Iran, right when that $21 trillion comes in, right when the manufacturing boom is going to take in, right when you're going to get those
amazing day. I mean, the day has to start early.
Well, today, the next 3 days will be crazy because we can't write ahead of time. Like there's going to be impeachment hearings all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Thursday.
Yeah. So what do you do?
We basically watch and write in real time.
Do you ever think like the president of the United States is going to try to get you?
I feel like he's angrier about SNL now than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's angry with you. He's tweeted about you.
He has, but not for a while. I think like he...
Now, additional issues that have Donald Trump and his regime panicked. The Defense Department, which unlawfully calls itself the Department of War, is running out of money. U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense Steve Feinberg has informed congressional appropriators the Pentagon will now require $80 billion in supplemental funds to cover the cost of the Iran war. But I thought you guys said it only cost $20 billion. No, it's hundreds and billions of dollars, probably in the trillions. We're learning this as well, that the purported American pilot of the U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle that was shot down over Iran in April, requiring that purported mission near Isfahan, said that when he was in the air, there were multiple Iranian drones hovering in the air, moving as one in a formation that resembled a jellyfish. 4 sources familiar with the matter told CNN. Multiple drones interconnected and moving as one, with smaller drones below the bigger drones like legs. A source familiar with the pilot's account said, "Real alien shit." Another source described what the pilot witnessed as a minefield of drones in the air before that F-15 was downed. And this has people in the Defense Department very, very nervous right now. So with all of this going on, what else is the Trump regime doing? You've got Marco Rubio further threatening Cuba. And moving on to their next imperialist threats, or they've always been threatening Cuba, but here's what Rubio says. The situation in Cuba is devolving as the island's corrupt, brutal, and anti-American communist regime continues to prioritize its own total control over the freedom, opportunity, and basic well-being of the Cuban people. The Cuban military-controlled conglomerate GAESA has persistently served as the main vector for regime elites to steal the island's few resources, diverting them for repression. Now they use the words like vector and this. By the way, y'all are putting
his insistence that the marriage, like everything else with Trump, is transactional, his 2024 break with a decades-long friendship to warn the country, or simply the fact that Stern, more than any other person alive, has Donald Trump on the record in his own voice, being exactly who Stern says he is?
Welcome to Suno V5.5. This is our best sounding model, but more importantly, it is our most personalized model. We built V5.5 around the idea that the music that you create should carry something of you, your voice, your sound, your taste. Because V5.5 captures so much musical nuance and timbre, it unlocks 3 brand new experiences for the most expressive Suno experience to date. Custom models, my taste, and the one that I'm most excited to talk about and you've been asking for forever, voices. That's right, you can finally make music with your own voice on Suno. Voices lets you capture your own voice and use it to sing in your Suno creations. If you're a singer, you can use your voice in your music wherever you are. No need for a recording setup or a mic or a quiet space to get a demo down. And if you don't sing, you can finally experience what it's like to use your voice in your music for the very first time. It unlocks completely new creative experiences. Let me show you how to set it up. You can upload a clean acapella if you have one, select a track from your library, or record right here in the app. You can even upload a song that has music in the background and Suno will run a stem split and isolate the vocals for you, but you're gonna need between 30 seconds and 4 minutes of audio for this to work. For this demo, I'm gonna use this large condenser mic to capture my voice. A good microphone does help, but your built-in mic on your devices should work just fine. Just make sure that you're in a quiet environment where you don't have any people talking in the background or traffic or something like that. To get started, I'm gonna sing a song that I made on Suno just because it has a really wide vocal range that is perfect for this.
You don't shout when the world gets heavy. You just stay when others walk away. That kind of quiet strength is steady. Teaches me there's more than one way. I'm learning how to carry my own weight by watching how you carry yours with grace.
All right, so on this screen, you can keep the parts where you feel like it sounds like you the most. You can use these sliders on the side to crop things down. We know that your voice is deeply personal. You've spent your entire life with your voice, and we take that incredibly seriously. So that's why we've built in a strict verification process into this feature. To make a voice, you have to read a specific prompt out loud. Suno then cross-checks your speaking voice with the singing voice.
Tell me, every one of those moments is on tape. Literally, in Stern's archive, everyone is part of the historical record, and everyone has aged into a sharper, more accurate picture of who Donald Trump actually is than anything most political commentators have produced about the same man. Hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. Share the video. The corporate media won't connect the dots. Paramount paid Trump $16 million to settle a 60 Minutes lawsuit. CBS canceled Stephen Colbert in the middle of a merger fight. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel for 6 days last September after FCC threats. And Bari Weiss has gutted 60 Minutes and pushed out Scott Pelley. The institutional cowardice is real, but the independent voices, the Sterns, the Kimmels, the Colberts, the Obamas, the Whoopies, the Sonny Hostins, the Rosie O'Donnells, the Clooneys, the De Niros, the Baldwins, the Mayers, the Trevor Noahs, the Hankses, the Carries, the Maiselaces, the Springsteens, the Conways are the only voices doing this work, and we're not stopping. Donald Trump is, on this particular Wednesday, the President of the United States who announced that Iran has requested a meeting that Iran says never happened, and its foreign ministry called fake news, whose defeated enemy is publicly celebrating a great victory for the Iranian people, while refusing to meet him and hasn't even received its money, whose son-in-law is negotiating in the same Gulf countries that poured billions into his private firm, whose response to the gas prices his own war caused is to threaten the gas stations, who just won the power to purge independent agencies while his own Supreme Court left standing the $5 million verdict that he sexually abused a woman, and who told the country 45,000 people came to a state fair that NBC says was nearly empty. Howard Stern is the man who knew him for 30 years, who has the tapes, who heard Donald Trump reveal himself in his own unguarded voice again and again, and who finally said out loud the truest thing anyone has said about him: "I have no respect for Trump or his voters." They were friends once. Stern watched what the man became, and the tapes he holds, decades of Donald Trump telling the world exactly who he is, remain the most honest documentary of this president that exists. Both of those men are part of the historical record now, and the gap between the tough guy champion Trump plays on television and the man Howard Stern actually knew gets wider and clearer and harder to deny every single day. See you in the next one.
Most creators waste hours trying to go viral, but viral videos are not random. They follow a clear pattern your brain instantly reacts to. It's not about luck or talent, it's about the hook, the pacing, and the emotion that keep people watching. This is the creative DNA of a viral video, and without it, you're just guessing. That's where Pipit comes in. It analyzes viral content, extracts the exact formula behind it, and helps you recreate what already works faster and smarter. Stop guessing and start creating with Pipit. Pipit, a ByteDance product, can now clone the creative DNA of any video and lets you recreate any viral video from an online reference. Same viral impact, faster to launch. One of the hardest parts of growing a faceless social media channel or page is figuring out what style, rhythm, and visual flow really works. Many creators waste their time starting from scratch, even when the best videos already show you the formula. This is where Pipit's video reference feature really comes in handy. Instead of guessing what makes a good video, you just give Pipit a reference video, and it will create a new, creative version for you based on the same structure. In fact, Pipit is a powerful AI-powered video creation tool that helps you create content very quickly and professionally. Instead of editing manually, Pipit analyzes the structure of a reference video and recreates it automatically with new content. Pipit is one of the best tools you can use. Just sign up. The site link is in the video description. Now here you see the main Pipit dashboard, where the entire video creation process is done intelligently. In this section, we click on the reference video option and upload the reference video we want. This video helps Pipit recognize the rhythm, structure, and overall style of the work. Then Pipit automatically writes the video prompts. You don't need to write the prompts yourself. After that, in the model section, you can choose one of the models. For example, Pipit Max, or Dream in a Sea Dance 2.0 Fast, or Sora 2. In this example, I choose the Sora 2 model to produce a more accurate and professional result. And in the aspect ratio section, you can choose the video size, and in the video length section, you can choose the video time. At this point, Pipit will automatically open a new window and start generating a new version of the video, based on the structure of your reference video, without the need for manual editing or complex settings. Now let's compare the two videos, the video that Pipit created and the original video. Now let's go through these steps again, to see exactly how it works. First, we upload the reference video. After that, we select the desired model. Next, you can adjust the video size, as well as the output duration, so that the final result is created exactly according to the structure and rhythm of the original video. In this way, Pipit intelligently analyzes the style, timing and flow of the reference video, and produces a new version that perfectly matches the same structure for you. Fast, automatic, and without the need for manual editing. Now let's compare the videos and see. The resulting output maintains the rhythm and structure of the reference video, even when you change the content to your own new subject. This means you have a very strong starting point, without having to build everything from scratch. The platform intelligently analyzes the visual rhythm, timing of scenes, and overall flow of a short video, and transforms that same structure into a new output. Instead of designing everything from scratch, you start with a format that has already stood the test of time. Let's compare another example. And now here's a version that Pipit has produced, using the same creative structure. As you can see, the timing and visual logic have been preserved, but the content has been completely adapted to the new theme. Since the process is fully automated, you can produce several different versions of a successful structure in just a few minutes. And because Pipit gives you free daily credits every day, you can easily experiment with different formats and choose the one that works best. You give it a proven structure, and Pipit will rebuild that structure around your new content. This tool isn't going to reinvent the wheel, it's going to make the process of getting started faster, easier, and smarter. For creators who already know what types of videos work well in their niche, this tool can be a real time saver. Instead of guessing what works, you just re-implement the same successful structure. Signing up for Pipit is free, and you get new credits every day. If you have ideas for content, but haven't had the time to create them, this could be a good time to give this tool a try. What types of videos do you think are best suited to being rebuilt with this?
Donald Trump's health continues to collapse as some of his top aides seem to be raising massive red flags and trying to show us what is happening. Specifically, Margot Martin, one of Donald Trump's top aides, has been posting videos of Donald Trump where you can clearly see his cognitive and physical deterioration. And I think she's trying to post these videos to show all of these red flags to the public. At the same time, she sees Natalie Harp, who Donald Trump describes as his human printer.
I have a request to make, guys. Hit subscribe, like this video right now, subscribe to the channel, and join the membership, most importantly, because we need to keep independent journalism alive. We are just 29 members on this channel right now. We need at least 1,000. We are far from our goal. Please join the membership right now. It is just $9 a month. And this way you can support us and we can keep the great work alive. Subscribe to America Facticity, guys. Let's go back to the topic.
The internet and Etsy and whatnot, and we really don't know what's going on in other parts of the world. For instance, any of you ever been to the Strait of Hormuz? You should check it out. You'd love it. We used to summer there when I was a boy, but this war we are in, for reasons known only to Donald Trump, hinges now on Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which, for the record, was open before he started this. And now either is open.
Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Meiselas both destroyed Donald Trump, one with comedy, one with relentless, evidence-driven, independent journalism. And in the last 24 hours, the man they have both been warning about handed them the most humiliating example yet of everything they've been saying. Today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. And here is what just happened. The thing that Jimmy Kimmel is going to have a field day with and that Ben Meiselas is already documenting exhibit by exhibit. Donald Trump announced, in all capital letters, that Iran had come crawling to him for a meeting. Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha, he posted on Truth Social. A triumphant declaration. Iran is coming to me. I am in control. And then the meeting he announced to the entire world simply did not happen, because Iran said it was never scheduled in the first place. Qatar, the country hosting these talks, confirmed flatly that there are currently no high-level meetings between the United States and Iran. Iran's foreign ministry went further and called Trump's claim what it plainly was: fake news. Iran said it had sent a delegation to Doha for one reason only: to follow up on getting its $6 billion in frozen assets released, and that its officials would not be meeting with the Americans at all. So the President of the United States announced a summit that the other side says he invented. He told America that Iran begged him for a meeting, and Iran publicly responded that no such request was ever made. This is the gap between what Donald Trump says and what is actually true. The gap Jimmy Kimmel turns into a punchline every single night, and the gap Ben Meiselas and the Midas Touch Network expose with documents and receipts every single day. Kimmel makes you laugh at it, Meiselas makes you understand it, and together they are doing the job the corporate networks have been too frightened to do. We're going to walk through every piece of it. Pull up a chair, there's a lot here, and it all connects. And it's moving fast. And the reason this pairing is so powerful is that Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Meiselas attack the same target from two completely different directions, and Donald Trump has no defense against either. Kimmel comes at him with ridicule, the late-night monologue, the perfect pun, the joke that lodges in your memory and deflates the strong man's myth. Meiselas comes at him with evidence, the documented timeline, the contradiction caught on tape, the lawyer's brief assembled exhibit by exhibit. One makes Trump small, the other makes him accountable. And crucially,
and others describe her as something else to Donald Trump, always by his side 24/7, raising lots of red flags there as well. I'll talk about that in a moment. Margot Martin posted the following video right here of Donald Trump in the Oval Office looking deeply unwell as he was signing an executive order yesterday, claiming that there was a national emergency, that people who fix their cars get arrested, and that we need to help the people fix their cars because they're getting arrested and thrown in detention centers. What in the heck is he talking about? Watch this video that Margot Martin posted. Play this clip.
It's really common sense. If somebody wants to fix, some of these people are better mechanics than the mechanics in the shop. They're telling the mechanic in the shop how to fix their car or their truck. We signed the truck one a little while ago. So I'm going to sign this and I'll be happy about it. We rule by common sense to a large extent. All right, Lee, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Donald Trump had locked down the White House the entire day from the press. You looked at Donald Trump's schedule. It was closed to the press all day. We now know what was taking place. Donald Trump was meeting with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He was meeting with his top military advisors to plan an all-out war in Iran. The United States still has about 660,000 troops stationed in the region or nearby, and Donald Trump was asking for advice and guidance, and he was being given strategies for an all-out invasion of Iran. The question does not seem to be if, it seems to be when. The Wall Street Journal has even reported the following. Trump considers return to all-out war with Iran, but is sticking to diplomacy for now. Trump briefed on all-out war options in Iran, but opts to stick with talks at least for this 60-day period until that ends. He told his aides he's fine with negotiations for now, but he's looking what's going to happen on August 18th. Alex Ward, who was behind this article, writes, Trump is actively weighing a return to all-out war with Iran, discussing the possibility with senior officials like Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Kane. He's sticking with diplomacy for now. The conversation focused on what Netanyahu has been demanding: finish the job, meaning total annihilation of Iran. The warmongers are in control, obviously. Netanyahu visited Israel's so-called security zone, an area in southern Lebanon that Israel claims is a security zone, but which actually belongs to Lebanon. And Netanyahu was there in order to engage in more provocative actions and threats to try to blow up the Iran MOU.
Both of them operate beyond the reach of the levers Trump has used to bend the rest of the media to his will. He squeezed Paramount Kimmel benched for 6 days, but Kimmel came back louder, and Meiselas built something with no license, no corporate parent, and no advertiser he can frighten. They are the two faces of the media Trump cannot kill. And this week, with a phantom summit collapsing in public and a war he swore was over still smoldering, they have never had more to work with. If you appreciate this kind of breakdown, the membership is $9 a month. Less than a coffee. No corporate parent, no FCC license to renew, no merger to negotiate with this White House. Just us and you. Jump in if you can, share the video if you can't. Let me start with Ben Meiselas, because his story is the story of where honest political media is actually being made in 2026, and it is not on the legacy networks. Ben Meiselas is a civil rights attorney who, along with his brothers Brett and Jordy, built Midas Touch into the largest independent political media operation in the country. He is a working constitutional and civil rights lawyer, a man who has litigated real cases against real power, and he and his brothers grew Midas Touch from a political action committee, making viral ad videos into a sprawling network of podcasts and daily programming that now commands an audience the legacy giants would envy, its flagship podcast repeatedly topping the charts above legacy cable. While the corporate networks have spent the last 2 years capitulating to Donald Trump, Paramount paying him $16 million to settle a lawsuit, CBS canceling Stephen Colbert in the middle of a merger, ABC suspending Jimmy Kimmel under FCC pressure, Barry Weiss gutting 60 Minutes, Midas Touch has gone the opposite direction. It has grown explosively, precisely because it refuses to bend. Meiselas and his network have, at times, drawn larger audiences than legacy cable news, because millions of Americans are starving for someone who will simply tell them the truth without flinching, without a corporate parent to appease, without an FCC license to protect. That is the entire premise. No advertisers to lose, no merger to negotiate with this White House. Just the facts, delivered with conviction. And Ben Meiselas has been documenting Trump's decline with a relentlessness the polished evening news anchors cannot match. He is a lawyer and he builds cases. He does not editorialize from a distance. He approaches Donald Trump the way a prosecutor approaches a defendant.
Now, Margot Martin, one of Donald Trump's top aides, also posted this video of Donald Trump walking around the White House grounds and outside in Lafayette Square. And you'll note that Donald Trump can't really walk straight. We've been raising these red flags, but you see it in this video that Margot Martin posted as well. It's as if she continues to post these videos to send signs that this guy is rapidly physically deteriorating. I mean, these videos look bad. Here, play this clip. Just so you can see the angle that corporate news was showing of Donald Trump yesterday and that the White House account was beaming out. This was Donald Trump saying that they were arresting all of these people for fixing their cars. Play this clip.
Attention, because I noticed they were arresting people for fixing their car. They were arresting people for fixing it. That's not even believable. Anyway, so it's right to fix. And I think it's really common sense. If somebody wants to fix, some of these people are better mechanics than the mechanics in the shop.
Now, talking about Natalie Harp for a moment, Donald Trump's human printer. Trump is spending all of his days and nights with her. I think they're calling it
his intelligence. I offered to host and produce a live TV event that I believe would be the greatest television show of all time. I was going to call it Grandpa Don's Dementia Bowl, but I feel like he wouldn't want that on the trophy. So instead, we're calling it the James C. Kimmel Cognitive Aptitude and Mental Brilliance Invitational. A real event. Donald Trump versus Jasmine Crockett and/or AOC. This is not a joke. I am very serious about making this happen. And Mr. President, I think if you listen on my pitch, you'll be into it too. What's the thing you cherish most above all else, above family, above, that's right, ratings. Ratings. Think of they will be huge. They'll be bigger than the night I came back after you tried to have me canceled. Wouldn't it be incredible? Think about it. Wouldn't it be amazing for you to show the world just how powerful that brain is? Let's make this the biggest television event of all time. We'll go live, coast to coast, Hollywood to the Mar-a-Lago omelet station. Show those losers what a winner you are. This is so much bigger than that lame little Nobel Prize necklace they give out. Let's make you the first ever champion of the James C. Kimmel Cognitive Aptitude and Mental Brilliance Invitational. We would be honored by your participation.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible. Nina can't code. Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can now.
Nice. So you're saying we can all build apps now?
Yeah.
I'm on lunch. I gotta make a call.
I'll be right
in my
back.
office.
Just built an inventory tracker.
Protein calculator. Book sharing app.
A workflow manager that
Tracks who still owes for the group lunch.
Trash duty schedule.
Since no one seems to care.
just built a
I just
performance
created a
manager.
goal tracking system.
We built the same thing, didn't we?
Yep.
Can this thing manage contact?
Is the SOC 2 compliant?
I want to animate this graph.
Create a party planner.
Profesor de español.
An inter-office dating app. For dogs. For office dogs. You know what I mean?
We need to localize the summer campaign by yesterday. Top performers only. B, that's the one. Skip carousels for now. Let me know when we're good to go. Amazing. Agents, what shall we take on next?
Netanyahu was then on various broadcast networks in Israel today saying, "We entered Iran twice to save ourselves from destruction. There will be a third time if necessary." And we've heard Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, saying, "We're going to continue to attack Syria. We're going to continue to attack Lebanon. We're going to continue to attack Gaza. No one's going to stop us. And we're preparing for the third war with Iran this year." Netanyahu also said, "Israel is the nation state of Jewish people. No Palestinian state will be established here. We will pursue an active security policy. We won't sit back and wait behind fences." And so J.D. Vance notably changed his tune as Donald Trump planning and plotting this all-out war. J.D. Vance went on this Michael Knowles podcast on the Daily Wire, and J.D. Vance started saying, really the only reason why we did this memorandum of understanding is we need to refill some stocks. And so we're just using the 60-day period to do that. Listen to what he says. Play this clip.
So I think what the president has told us to do is use this MOU to sort of refill the world's oil economy. Yeah. To refill some stocks and then to see where the hand is.
Not with insults, but with exhibits. The clip of the lie, the receipt that contradicts it, the pattern established over time that no single denial can erase. When Trump fell asleep on camera at his own UFC birthday party at the White House, it was the Midas Touch ecosystem that caught it, clipped it, and made sure the country saw an 80-year-old president dozing off at his own spectacle. When the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool turned bright green with algae after a $14.7 million renovation, Midas Touch documented the absurdity. And the Iran has requested a meeting fiasco of the last 24 hours is a perfect Marcellus exhibit. A Trump claim, a foreign government's flat denial, and the plain documented gap between them. That is a different kind of destruction than comedy. It is the destruction of the prosecutor laying out exhibit after exhibit until the verdict is undeniable. Subscribe and share the video if you appreciate this kind of breakdown. And what makes Marcellus so threatening to Trump is exactly what makes independent media so threatening in general. There is no pressure point. Trump's entire strategy for controlling the media has been to find the lever, the lawsuit, the merger, the FCC license, the advertiser boycott, and pull it. It worked on Paramount. It worked briefly on ABC. It worked on the West Point alumni group that canceled Tom Hanks's Veterans Award. But there is no lever to pull on Midas Touch. You cannot threaten the broadcast license of a network that does not have one. You cannot pressure the corporate parent of a company that has no corporate parent. You cannot make the advertisers flee a model built on direct audience support. Ben Meiselas built something Donald Trump cannot touch, and that is precisely why it has become one of the most important voices in the country. The harder Trump squeezes the legacy media, the more the audience flows to the independent voices he cannot squeeze. Now, let me bring in Jimmy Kimmel, because where Meiselas builds the case, Kimmel delivers the verdict in the form of a punchline. And he does it after surviving exactly the kind of pressure campaign that made independent media necessary in the first place. Jimmy Kimmel knows firsthand what it costs to mock Donald Trump in 2026. In September 2025, ABC suspended Kimmel for 6 days after FCC Chairman Brendan Carr publicly threatened broadcasters with the easy way or the hard way. Trump celebrated, posting that Kimmel should rot in his bad ratings. But the suspension backfired spectacularly. There were protests, there was bipartisan condemnation. Even Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the FCC shouldn't be wandering into this. And Kimmel came back with an emotional monologue about free speech that became one of the most watched late-night moments of the year. He did not grovel. He did not back down. He came back swinging, and he has not stopped since. And the lesson of that whole episode is the lesson Ben Meiselas built his entire network on. When you try to silence the truth tellers, you only make them louder, and you drive the audience straight into the arms of the people you cannot control. And Kimmel's Iran war material has been relentless. When Trump signed the deal at the Palace of Versailles, Kimmel dubbed it the Retreaty of Versailles.
Policy meetings in the White House right there, but she's always by his side. And when Donald Trump wants whatever the information, the human printer runs by his side and she's got it. But they're doing all of these policy meetings together. If you look at Trump's schedule, as one account notes, Old King Syndrome is a political state where corrupt officials, eunuchs, and the harem ladies work together or against each other to control a doddering, senile ruler to enrich their families and interest groups. While all of this is going on, you have Senator Hassan of New Hampshire pressing for answers after reports that Trump is receiving potentially special treatment and special access to medication as well. It seems that, according to this report by Stat News, that the Trump regime bent the rules of a federal program to provide a highly sought-after weight loss drug from Eli Lilly, still in clinical trials, to a single VIP, potentially for free, and it was going to a 79-year-old who's well connected with refractory obesity, obstructive sleep apnea, and pulmonary hypertension.
Before you hire a lawyer for your injury case, ask them.
Where are you based?
When you call the Richard Harris Law Firm, you already know we're local.
I grew up here, so did Josh.
Local matters. Who you hire matters. The Richard Harris Law Firm.
Now I want to bring in Senator Maggie Hassan from the great state of New Hampshire. Senator Hassan, so great to be with you. I want to talk about the letter that you sent RFK Jr. about this experimental drug that's apparently being used by someone in the White House who seems to fit a description of Donald Trump, but regardless of whether it's him or whoever. I think there's a lot of red flags there, though, with Donald Trump's cognitive and physical abilities right now, which we could get into as well. But tell us about this letter that you sent, and why is it important that we focus on this issue too? You know, lots of people would think that you did an MOU because you want to follow the terms of the deal, but no, you want to refill your stocks. Also, J.D. Vance told Michael Knowles that this is really just the beginning, that we've got a lot of cards we're going to play. We're going to be playing much more games with Iran. I mean, these sickos, do you think this is a game? Do you know how much the American people are suffering right now? And now you're going to send hundreds of thousands of American troops to die in an unlawful and catastrophic war while you openly admit, while you're on these right-wing podcasts, that you're just using the MOU to buy time, to rearm, and to play more cards and games with Iran? Here, play this clip right here.
This is the end of the beginning. Okay. There is a lot more game to play.
Yeah.
And there are a lot more cards that we're going to see, to mix metaphors here. And the good thing about it is that we're served by an administration, we're served by a president of the United States who is constantly trying to figure out how to gain an edge for the American people.
And then J.D. Vance went on state regime media and Fox and said, really? You know, Laura, the purpose of this MOU was really to just test Iran to see, are they going to be good friends or pals? Is that what they're going to, what are you talking about?
A perfect pun capturing that the deal was really a surrender. He mocked the absurd spectacle of Trump signing a Middle East peace deal over dessert at a French palace with Macron, joking about Trump getting a macaroon to go. He called the whole thing a deal to make a deal, hosted by Howie Mandel. When Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz became clear, he quipped that America had gotten Hormuzled. He compared the deal to a Trojan horse, invoking Matt Damon. He read the Fox News chirons aloud to show even Trump's friendliest network was struggling to spin it. And the genius of the Treaty of Versailles is that it was not just a joke, it was an accurate one-word thesis, a retreat dressed up as a treaty. Now, 2 weeks later, with the deal openly described by CNN as highly favorable to Tehran, the joke has revealed itself as the single most precise summary of this entire disaster anyone has produced. Hit subscribe if this kind of breakdown is what you're here for. Share the video. The corporate media won't connect any of these dots. Kimmel has also been merciless about the people Trump sends out to defend the indefensible. When Trump suggested to Reuters that America shouldn't even have an election and sent his press secretary out to claim he was joking, Kimmel demolished the defense. If there is one thing we've learned about this guy, it is that he doesn't joke. He insults people. He has hammered J.D. Vance relentlessly. This is the first time anyone's ever wanted to talk to J.D. Vance. A canker sore is more acceptable than herpes. His wife had to peel him off the couch. He connected Vance's defense of Trump's deleted AI Jesus image to his own suspension. Like all the best jokes, it had to be explained and then deleted. Why did I get kicked off the air again? Every night, Kimmel takes whatever indefensible thing the administration did that day and makes the country laugh at it. And every day, Meiselas takes the same material and makes the country understand exactly how dangerous it is. Comedy and journalism, the two weapons the legacy media has largely abandoned, kept alive by the independents. Now bring it all the way to the present, because the news from the last 24 hours is the ultimate vindication of everything both men have been saying. Start with the Doha humiliation, because it is the freshest and clearest example of the whole pattern. On Monday, Trump posted his triumphant all-caps announcement, "Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha." His press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, went on Fox News and said envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, would be flying to Doha for high-level meetings. And then, over the next 24 hours, the entire announcement fell apart in public. Iran's chief negotiator had already said, hours before Trump's post, that no technical meetings were even scheduled. Iran's foreign ministry called the claim that Tehran requested a meeting fake news. And by Tuesday, Qatar itself, the host, confirmed the truth. Witkoff and Kushner met with the Qatari prime minister. Yes, but there are currently no high-level meetings between the United States and Iran. The summit Trump trumpeted to the world did not exist. Iran had come to Doha for its own reasons, to collect its money, and pointedly refused to sit across from the Americans at all. And here is the detail that makes it worse, the detail Ben Meiselas would circle in red.
Look, even in this administration, this letter stands out, right? So people should understand that if there are clinical trials going for a drug that hasn't been approved by the FDA yet, there are situations in which you can apply for a special exemption. It's called a compassionate use exemption, so that somebody who really needs that drug now, who's tried a lot of other things, can get access to what could be a critical drug for them before it's approved. What stands out in this case is a highly placed person at the NIH reached out to the FDA and said, please make a compassionate use exemption for a new weight loss drug for a 79-year-old man who has a couple of other healthcare conditions and who's been on another weight loss drug for about a year and it hasn't worked. And the FDA has now allowed that exemption for this one individual. Now, usually when you get compassionate use exemptions like this, FDA would approve it for a whole cohort of people, other people who could also benefit from this. But in this case, it's just one person who was 79 years old in April when the application was made, who happens to know somebody highly placed at the NIH and who is getting this drug in all likelihood for free, because when you're in a clinical trial, you get the drug for free, while millions of Americans either have had to give up their health insurance altogether or are really struggling with their copays and deductibles, especially with the price of pharmaceuticals at the counter. And so it's just really indicative of an administration that thinks there's a special class of people, and if you're well enough connected, you can get whatever you need.
You invaded Iran. You killed little girls in Manab. This war was unlawful and catastrophic from the outset. Iran destroyed the United States in this war. The U.S. looked foolish. We were about to hit tank bottom, so you begged for a deal the way you begged for a ceasefire, and now you keep on violating it. And again, you show how bad faith you are. And it's hard for me to say this as an American, but it is absolutely disgraceful what's taking place. But here's what J.D. Vance says. Play this clip.
And I think because of that, what you see in the room, Laura, is I think evidence of a real push and pull in their system. There are people within the Iranian system who recognize the way that they've done business for 47 years is a mistake, and they want to turn over a new leaf. You also see some resistance, some of the old hardliners, some of the old radicals.
contingent who desperately want all-out war and death and mass genocide. Speaking of, Netanyahu was then on the various programs saying, "We didn't leave Lebanon. We have effectively established a security belt about 10 kilometers inside Lebanon with the agreement of the Lebanese government. And of course, Hezbollah is outraged. The same is true with Iran." I mean, the whole thing is to provoke Iran, apparently, and to continue after the MOU with Iran to try to get the United States back into war. Stop it. The American people don't want to be in this godforsaken war. Then you have MB Ghalibaf, Iran's lead negotiator, realizing all of this is taking place. He's the leader of their parliament as well. He goes, look, even now that we are negotiating with America, we're not negotiating with a friend. We're negotiating with an untrustworthy enemy who will definitely take action against us whenever they find opportunity. In truth, a person can negotiate well only if they are also prepared for war. If it becomes necessary to do this through war and fire, we will do it. We said that if they respond, we will definitely respond again. Lebanese army is being placed at the service of the Zionist regime so that it can ensure the security of the Zionist regime. If they refuse to implement what was discussed, the Trump regime, we are prepared for war, Ghalibaf says. Ghalibaf was then asked, so Trump said that some of this money was going to be buying grain from the United States, only from American farmers. How true is that? Ghalibaf says, not accurate at all. Ghalibaf then says, we are now selling our oil at a 20% premium. If America wants to fight, we also know how to fight as well. If they intend to deprive us of selling our oil, no one will benefit from oil at all. From the day the blockade was actually lifted until today, Ghalibaf says, Iran has exported over 40 million barrels of oil, and this happened in just the last 10 or 12 days. But in the previous 50 or 60 days, we truly didn't export even a single barrel of oil. We were entirely tied up with this issue. The text of the understanding states that passage through the strait without charge is only for 60 days. Iran will under no circumstances back down from its rights in the Strait of Hormuz. These are our territorial waters. Meanwhile,
that is hitting Americans directly in the wallet, gas prices. He posted in the same all-caps fury, gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately, warning that if they didn't, big problems lie ahead. Think about that. Trump started a war with Iran. The war disrupted the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil flows. Prices at the pump went up as a direct result. And Trump's response is not to take responsibility. It is to threaten the gas station owners, as if the corner Shell station started the war in the Middle East. This is a man who will blame anyone, threaten anyone, invent any villain, rather than admit that his own choices produced the pain Americans are feeling. It is exactly the pattern Meiselas documents and Kimmel mocks. The buck stops anywhere but here. You can practically hear the Kimmel monologue writing itself. The president who bombed the world's most important oil choke point acts shocked that oil got more expensive and then shakes his fist at the teenager working the register at the gas station. And underneath the comedy is the deadly serious point Meiselas would make. This is a president who has never once in his entire political life accepted responsibility for a consequence of his own actions. Every problem is someone else's fault. Every failure is sabotage. Every price increase is the retailer's greed, never the war's cost. It is a worldview with no accountability in it anywhere, and it is being applied right now to a shooting war in the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, the courts delivered their own split verdict on Trump's power.
This is a song about a breakup. No, it shouldn't sound like heartbreak. More like taking control.
I don't need it. No, I don't need you. I know you're just a gum on my shirt.
In the last 24 hours, the Supreme Court handed Trump a sweeping victory, ruling 6-3 that he can fire and replace the commissioners of independent government agencies, overturning more than 90 years of precedent that protected those agencies from presidential control. It is a massive expansion of executive power, the kind of thing that should alarm anyone who cares about the checks that restrain a president. And yet, in the very same breath, the court drew a line. It ruled that Trump could not fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, with Chief Justice Roberts writing that gutting the Fed's independence was an interpretive leap out of step with the law and the nation's traditions. And separately, the court declined even to hear Trump's appeal of the $5 million verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case, the civil finding that he sexually abused and defamed her. So in one day, more power to purge the agencies, a rebuke on the Fed, and a quiet final confirmation that the sexual abuse verdict against him stands. Mycelis, the lawyer, could do an entire program on that docket alone. And that Carroll detail deserves to be said plainly, because it is exactly the kind of thing the corporate networks now rush past. The Supreme Court of the United States, which Trump himself reshaped, looked at his appeal of a jury verdict that found him liable for sexually abusing and then defaming a woman and declined to touch it. That verdict is now final. There is no higher court. The sitting president of the United States is, as a settled matter of American law, a man a jury found sexually assaulted someone. And the news barely registered for a day, buried under the Iran chaos and the agency firing ruling. That is precisely the kind of story Ben Mycelis refuses to let disappear.
Look, I just want to be clear. The president of the United States has a really important job, so I want them to get good health care, whoever is in the presidency. But to your point, it's the lack of transparency. It's what we're seeing in real time. I mean, I've never thought Donald Trump was fit to be in office. He shouldn't be our president, but he is. But the other issue here is it's, again, this administration's just overall attitude that there's a special class of people. They are the people who know Donald Trump, who are connected to Donald Trump, who can pay Donald Trump something or provide a favor to Donald Trump. It's a special class of people who get these special exemptions at a time when my constituents here in New Hampshire are struggling so hard just to figure out how to pay the rent, how to cover their kids' medication, how to make sure that they can keep everything afloat at a time when the economy is really not working for them. And so that, to me, it's the lack of transparency, and it's the special treatment of a special class of people at a time when we should be making healthcare more affordable for everybody. And I'll also point out, whoever is getting this new weight loss drug, this one person with this special exemption for free through the Trump administration, Donald Trump has taken action after action that has driven healthcare costs up. So that's also just the outrage here. He has made it easier for pharmaceutical companies to keep their prices high. He refused to extend those critical ACA tax cuts for families. And so as healthcare is getting more and more expensive, he cut Medicaid by billions of dollars. As healthcare is getting more unavailable and more expensive for people, somebody who is either Donald Trump or knows Donald Trump and is really well connected is getting this special drug for free. And that's really the rub and the outrage here, among other things.
You had Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson, Majed al-Ansari, said that when Kushner and Witkoff arrived in Qatar, as Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson previously made clear, Iran wasn't showing up. So it was just Witkoff and Kushner and the Qatari mediators. And I'm sure Witkoff and Kushner were just talking about their own personal dealings. Here, play this clip.
As I confirmed a while earlier, the U.S. envoy, Mr. Steve Witkoff, and Mr. Jared Kushner are here in Doha to meet with the mediators, meaning with the Qatari officials. And the talks will be around all regional issues which are of concern, including, of course, the negotiations with Iran, but also including Lebanon and other files in the region. So they are not here for direct negotiations with the Iranians or related meetings, as we have made clear in the past that the high-level meetings will only happen when the technical meetings are producing results for them to take place, and the technical meetings are ongoing. between the parties, whether they are direct or indirect. It keeps moving in and out, according to the logistics of it and the discussions and the way they are progressing. But I can confirm that the technical meetings are still happening, and the mediators are working as go-betweens between the parties in the time being. We're not expecting any high-level Iranian officials at the moment, but as I said, the technical meetings are ongoing since Luzerne, and they haven't stopped since then.
And precisely the kind of thing the networks settling their own lawsuits with Trump would rather not dwell on. The independent media remembers what the corporate media is paid to forget. The Iran picture, meanwhile, keeps getting worse the closer you look. This is a deal that, as CNN plainly reported, is widely viewed as highly favorable to Tehran. It requires the United States to unfreeze Iranian assets, terminate sanctions, allow Iranian oil exports, lift the blockade on Iranian ports, and develop a reconstruction fund for Iran. That is the victory. Iran, for its part, rejected a French plan to help clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz, warning Paris against provocations, because Iran wants sole control of that waterway, and this deal effectively hands it to them, giving Tehran a formal role in defining the future administration of a strait that used to be international. The security threat level for the strait has been raised to substantial because of the risk of mines. This is the open-for-business waterway Trump declared reopened. It is neither open nor safe, and Iran is turning away the allies who offered to help clean it up. Meselas would lay it out as simply as it deserves. Trump went to war to break Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz, and the deal he signed hands Iran a formal, permanent role in running it, requires America to pay for Iran's reconstruction, unfreezes Iran's money, lifts Iran's sanctions, and reopens Iran's oil exports. And then Iran throws a victory party and refuses to shake his hand. Every single term breaks in Tehran's favor. That is not a hardball negotiator's deal. That is the deal Kimmel named the moment it was signed, the Treaty of Versailles. This past week alone, Trump claimed Iran agreed to inspections into the future, infinity. Iran flatly denied it. He got into a shouting match with Republican Senator Bill Cassidy in a closed-door meeting. His administration asked Congress for about $87.6 billion to pay for the war, bundled with funding for an Ebola outbreak and support for American farmers. He declared that anyone who criticizes the deal, even friends of mine, needs to be educated. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy called the deal the worst foreign policy blunder in decades, writing that Reagan is rolling over in his grave. Republican Senator Tom Tillis said $100 billion has been spent since the first kinetic strike. We've lost 2 F-18s. Even the Democrats getting briefed weren't buying it. Representative Adam Smith, the top Democrat on House Armed Services, said, "I don't see a lot of evidence Iran will comply." It emerged that Iran had offered to downblend its uranium 2 days before the war even started, meaning Trump fought a $100 billion war to reach a deal he could have had for free. More than 3,800 people have been killed in Lebanon. Even Pope Leo XIV said this week that war is never blessed by God. And just days ago, the war had exploded back into the open. The U.S. struck Iran 3 times in 3 weeks after Iranian drones hit shipping in the Strait. Iran struck back at U.S. military sites in Kuwait and Bahrain. And Trump threatened on Truth Social that the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist.
Yeah. You sit on the Committee of Health, Education, and Labor and on the Finance Committee. And it is incredible the level of kind of fraud with which this Trump regime engages in both. And you take healthcare, it's a perfect example. There was a deal. I just think of it, it's a cycle that repeats. Yeah. It was called the Affordable Care Act. Right. That wasn't perfect. You could make this exact parallel with the JCPOA, but was moving us in the right direction and putting steps. Donald Trump, not a deal maker, a deal breaker. He rips it apart. Just like the JCPOA, he rips it apart. Mm-hmm. And what does he replace the healthcare with? With nothing but lies. In 2 weeks, I'm going to get you a plan. In a month, I'm going to get you a plan. It doesn't happen. Then what does he say? No, I actually did it. I've done a most favored nations clause. And now, don't you feel it? Your prescription drug prices are down 600%. Victory. JCPOA rips it apart, creates a worse situation. And then he says, what do you mean? I've done more than anybody has done before. And That's the cycle that's so damn dangerous. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. It's the same cycle. I call it a death cycle of fraud that just repeats. And you must have an interesting vantage point seeing it from all sides in the different committees you're on. J.D. Vance was then whining to Michael Knowles on Knowles' podcast about how he finds it frustrating and fascinating that the Iranians will say, no, there are no peace talks going on when we're having technical talks. No, JD, you're not speaking in Doha, Qatar, like Trump said, and the technical talks are not a retrade. It's not a new negotiation. It's the implementation of the deal, the MOU. There's no new deal that Iran is negotiating. Once you all made a deal and you signed it in Versailles, that's the deal. And other than this despicable Trump regime who can't keep their word and everything is bad faith, I think a lot of people normally try to look at a deal and they don't brag about breaching, but this Trump regime brags about breaching. They brag that the deal is never even a deal. And that's Trump's whole life. He is a grifter and a con artist. And you saw the stories about him today, right? $1.2 billion he made in crypto, like personally in the past, like 6 months. Did you see that? That he had to make that disclosure while all of the people who held his meme coins in crypto were down massively and like lost all of their money? How is that even acceptable? But this is the same approach that they bring to the MOU, and it leads to bankruptcy. Here, play this clip.
I'm not saying they're going to, I can't predict, of course, the future, but so one, there were scheduled talks, really technical talks building on the negotiation that we've already had. Those are definitely happening tomorrow. One of the things I find just fascinating and frustrating about the Iranians is they'll say, no, there aren't peace talks ongoing, but there are technical talks between the United States and Iran about the peace deal. It's like, okay, so it's a Persian negotiating tactic and a Persian rhetorical device that I don't understand, but that is the way that the Iranians have done.
That is the backdrop to this week's stand down and the Phantom Doha meeting. A ceasefire so fragile it collapsed into mutual strikes and apocalyptic threats, now papered over with an announcement that Iran says never happened. The week before told the same story. Trump called former President Barack Obama a stupid son of a bitch at the G7 after Obama observed that the war left America back where we were before we started the war, except maybe a little bit worse off. On June 14th, Trump celebrated his 80th birthday with a UFC fight night at the White House after the planned concert collapsed and fell asleep on camera. The moment Midas touch made sure the country saw, while a fighter hurled a slur at Michelle Obama, and Trump smirked. On June 8th, Trump became the first sitting president ever to attend an NBA Finals game at Madison Square Garden, where he was thunderously booed. On June 7th, Trump stormed off NBC's Meet the Press after Kristen Welker pressed him on his rigged California claim. "You're either crooked or you're stupid," he told her, before crushing his microphone and admitting, "I didn't guarantee no war." George Conway dropped a video June 15th. "I cost you $88 million, and I've only just gotten started," vowing a third impeachment. Trump's history of attacking people is now an open part of the public record. Quiet Piggy to Bloomberg's Catherine Lucy, most obnoxious reporter to ABC's Rachel Scott, a dumb person to MS Now's Akayla Gardner, hatred in her eyes to CNN's Caitlin Collins, either crooked or stupid to Kristen Welker, smirking at the slur against Michelle Obama, a stupid son of a bitch about Barack Obama, blow the sip out of them about Iran. I'm blaming JD about his own vice president. The pattern is the message, and it is the pattern Ben Meiselas has been documenting exhibit by exhibit since the beginning. The Republican defection list keeps growing. Pence, Cruz, Graham, Wicker, Massey, Fitzpatrick, Barrett, Davidson, Bill Cassidy, now in an open shouting match with Trump, calling the Iran deal the worst foreign policy blunder in decades. Tillis revealing the $100 billion price tag. Tucker Carlson apologized to his audience in April for misleading supporters. Marry Trump on CNN. Donald Trump has never been fit in any capacity. George Conway running for Congress on a third impeachment platform. The cultural opposition is full spectrum. Whoopi Goldberg, deballed America. Sonny Hostin, beneath the dignity. Rosie O'Donnell, con man, narcissist, psychopath.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can now. Anything else?
Can this thing process invoices?
Can it show cost growth by category?
Can it track spending trends?
Done.
Yeah, it's really just remarkable at so many levels. But let me, back to his so-called most favored nation deals with big pharma, right? So we now have this so-called Trump RX website where you can go to see what the cost of a particular drug is if you buy it through Trump RX. Here's the thing: it drives you all to brand name drugs, which are more expensive, right? And so this particular kind of drug, whoever got this exception, it's one of the kind of GLP-1 type of weight reduction drugs. If you go on Trump RX right now, you would pay at least $350, I think, a month for that drug. If you don't have insurance, I think it costs you like $1,000 a month. And here, whoever this specially connected person is getting it for free. And you are right. The ACA was intended to get everybody covered with health insurance. So then we could take the next step, which is reduce the overall cost. Once everybody's covered, now you can look at the things we need to do in our healthcare system, reduce the fragmentation, invest in more primary care, those kinds of things, keep hospitals from charging unfair facility fees, for instance. Those are the kinds of things we should be working on right now. And there's a little bit of bipartisan attention to a couple of those things. But the reality is now with these Medicaid cuts, which are extraordinarily damaging to states like mine with a large rural population, along with the other cuts to the ACA and the refusal to extend those tax cuts that help people afford their insurance on the ACA, we're seeing millions of Americans giving up their health insurance. People are still going to get sick. They still are going to need health care, but we're going to have a system that is much less able to respond to their needs. And we know that people are going to defer their health care until they get really sick and need much more expensive and intense health care as a result. So all in all, this is somebody who, as you say, says he's doing one thing while he is doing another, and it is really hurting our country and hurting their healthcare in particular.
Have done this. And just think about this despicable behavior of people like Markwayne Mullen, the Homeland Security Secretary. This is what he said. He said, "I did the happy dance when Iran lost in the World Cup." You did the happy dance? What are you, no offense to 2-year-olds. Are you 2 years old? As Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran writes, "Mission accomplished, Mr. Mullen. You also accomplished something else, proving to the world that you have no business hosting an international tournament. Your conduct has been a masterclass for how to squander the dignity that comes with being a host." And Araghchi is right. You know, the host cities, whether it was Los Angeles, Seattle, or wherever, handled it with dignity and grace. And it was great to see people from all over the world coming into these cities that Donald Trump says are hellholes. But I think what people got to see is that the Trump regime, the way they were treating everything, they were the biggest disgrace, while people just wanted to spend time together and hang out and enjoy football or soccer. And so now I just want to share with you a prediction. This was yesterday by Professor Jiang Shui Qin. And here he is. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He was on Piers Morgan and he said, yeah, look, the U.S. has 660,000 troops staged. At this point, maybe it's December, maybe it's March. Iran knows the decision has been made to invade with ground troops. And that's what Trump's been plotting. Here, play this clip.
No, you're absolutely right. Boots on the ground would be a disaster. But I still believe that eventually the United States will be forced to use boots on the ground. In fact, you can argue that there's been a lot of preparation. You still have 660,000 American troops ready to go. They are staged and ready to go. And even though there's an MOU, they're still there. And you could also argue that the MOU is really just buying time because right now it's really hot in Iran. And so you have to wait for cooler weather before you can launch a ground invasion. And so I think we are in a waiting game right now, but eventually you will see boots on the ground.
So you think it will definitely happen?
I think the latest will be next March.
Barack Obama, worse off. Robert De Niro, monstrous leaders. Bruce Springsteen, shout loud enough to be heard at the White House. George Clooney, war crime. Bill Maher, derangement syndrome. Trevor Noah, sexual deviant. Howard Stern, I have no respect for Trump or his voters. Alec Baldwin, who won an Emmy mocking him. Taylor Swift cheered in the arena that booed him. Tom Hanks, branded destructive for being decent. Jim Carrey, who warned in Paint of an extinction-level event. Jimmy Kimmel, who survived a suspension and kept telling the truth. And Ben Meiselas, who built the independent network Trump cannot silence because it has no license to revoke and no corporate parent to threaten. And here is why this pairing matters so much. Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Meiselas represent the future of holding power accountable. And it is a future that exists outside the institutions Donald Trump has spent 2 years capturing. The legacy networks folded, Paramount paid, CBS canceled Colbert, ABC suspended Kimmel, Barry Weiss gutted 60 Minutes. One by one, the corporate giants decided the safe move was to stop telling the truth about Donald Trump. And into that vacuum stepped the independents, the comedian who refused to stay silenced, and the lawyer who built a media empire on the simple promise that he would never bend. Kimmel does it with a joke. Meiselas does it with a brief. But they are doing the same essential thing, making sure that no matter how many networks Trump pressures into silence, the American people can still hear the truth from someone. That is why Trump rages about both of them, not because they are unfair, but because they are unkillable. He found the lever for the corporate media. There is no lever for these two. And every time he pressures a network into silence, its audience goes looking for someone braver and finds Kimmel or finds Midas Touch. The censorship doesn't shrink the truth, it relocates it to platforms Trump can't reach, where it grows. Drop a comment with the moment that hit hardest for you. Was it Jimmy Kimmel's Retreaty of Versailles? We got Hormuzlid. His, if there's one thing we've learned about this guy, it is that he doesn't joke. He insults people. His survival of the 6-day suspension. Or Ben Meiselas and Midas Touch catching Trump asleep at his own UFC party, documenting the algae green reflecting pool, and laying out the case against this administration day after day on the network Trump cannot touch? And what about this week's Phantom Doha meeting, the summit Trump announced that Iran says never existed? Tell me. Every one of those moments is on tape.
Bring your agent into Monday.com. Your Claude, ChatGPT, and Copilot agents working side by side where you already work. Set permissions, assign tasks, work from the same context, and create team-wide visibility. So build an agent on Monday or bring the ones you already have and give them a seat at the table. Consider yourself limitless. Monday.com, the best AI work platform. Start a free trial today.
Vistaprint is where your ideas become can't-miss signage that makes people stop, look, and shop. With vibrant banners, outdoor signs, and more. Just think it, click it, and print it with Vistaprint. Print your possible with 20% off your first order at Vistaprint.com.
You know, before we go, I just want to talk about your role on the Finance Committee, because it's a very serious committee and very serious, it's supposed to be very serious thinkers on this. And while there would be different approaches of how, you know, you and certain Democratic colleagues may approach the numbers, or how Republicans would, and we could have those types of structural debates. We never really made up the numbers and had fake numbers and fake data.
Yeah.
That was always viewed as that's what Bernie Madoff and frauds do, who go to prison and go to jail. So we would have our arguments, but we would at least have the data.
Yeah.
What deeply concerns me right now, and I want to get your perspective because your Republican colleagues to me have been sucked right into Bernie Madoff universe. And you know these people probably behind the scenes as, wow, how that's happened to you, which is, you know, Trump will say $21 trillion, $19 trillion have been brought in. These are deeply fake numbers. Like they're not anywhere true. And so we are now structurally, not the Democratic side, but these Republican colleagues of yours have embraced fake data and numbers from a finance perspective that aren't even close to being tethered to reality.
Yeah.
So how do you even like have conversations with people who are literally living in Bernie Madoff world on steroids, or Enron? Our country looks like Enron right now on steroids.
Look, we continue just to push to get witnesses in front of the Finance Committee who do have the real numbers and refute some of what is being spewed out by the Trump administration and some of his closest advisors. But, it's not just fake financial data, it's fake health data. You've heard the president say, pregnant women shouldn't take Tylenol because maybe that causes children to develop autism. We know that's not true. We know that's not right. And yet we are having to pay our attention to refuting that rather than actually coming together to continue to invest in the research that actually is getting closer to determining what causes autism. We have seen my Republican colleagues embrace false information about mifepristone in an attempt to outlaw mifepristone altogether, which would, of course, really limit women's capacity to control their own bodies and make their own reproductive decisions. So it permeates everything. And right now, our job has been to try to kind of level that playing field, get real data out there to people, and try to talk to our colleagues about coming our way to address those things that we know they're hearing from their constituents about just as much as we are hearing from ours. Behind the scenes, I get some Republicans acknowledging that they don't agree with the president's misrepresentation of data, for instance, or misrepresentation about certain kinds of health cause and effects. But it is very hard in this environment to be doing the productive work we should be doing to move things forward, to address the challenges that Americans want us to address and generally have overall agreement about. Not, to your point, exactly how to do it, exactly what kind of healthcare system would cover everybody and help lower costs. But there are really good ideas, and there's real potential for addressing some of our most difficult problems. And right now, we're just treading water trying to keep the false information at bay. And that really, it's terrible for the country, and it's slowing us down at a time when we really need to face a whole bunch of different challenges and move forward and make real progress.
Senator Maggie Hassan, first time joining me on the Midas Touch Network. So it's great.
I'm so glad to be here. Yeah.
It's great. We'll have you back on soon. Thanks for everything.
I'd love that. Thanks. Take care now.
Everyone is part of the historical record, and everyone has aged into a sharper, more accurate picture of who Donald Trump actually is than anything most political commentators have produced about the same man. Hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. Share the video. The corporate media won't connect the dots. Paramount paid Trump $16 million to settle a 60 Minutes lawsuit. CBS canceled Stephen Colbert in the middle of a merger fight. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel for 6 days last September after FCC threats. And Barry Weiss has gutted 60 Minutes and pushed out Scott Pelley. The institutional cowardice is real, but the independent voices, the Kimmels, the Meisellases, the Colberts, the Obamas, the Whoopas, the Sonny Hostins, the Rosie O'Donnells, the Clooneys, the De Niros, the Baldwins, the Mahers, the Trevor Noahs, the Howard Sterns, the Hankses, the Carries, the Springsteens, the Conways are the only voices doing this work, and we're not stopping. Donald Trump is, on this particular Wednesday, the President of the United States who announced to the entire world that Iran has requested a meeting in Doha. A meeting Iran says was never scheduled and never requested. A meeting Qatar confirmed did not happen. A claim Iran's own foreign ministry called fake news. He is the president whose defeated enemy is publicly celebrating a great victory for the Iranian people, while collecting its unfrozen billions and refusing to sit across from him, whose response to the gas prices his own war caused is to threaten the gas stations, and who spent the same 24 hours winning the power to purge independent agencies, getting rebuked by his own Supreme Court on the Federal Reserve, and watching that court quietly let the $5 million sexual abuse verdict against him stand. Jimmy Kimmel is the comedian who survived the White House's campaign to silence him and came back to call the surrender what it was, the Retreaty of Versailles. Ben Meiselas is the civil rights lawyer who built the largest independent political media operation in the country on the one thing Donald Trump cannot threaten, a platform with no license to revoke and no corporate master to pressure. One makes you laugh at the truth. The other makes you understand it, and between them, they guarantee that no matter how many networks Donald Trump captures, the American people will still be able to hear what is actually happening. Both of those men are part of the historical record now, and the gap between what Donald Trump claims and what is actually happening, a gap the size of a meeting he announced that never existed, gets wider and more impossible to hide every single day. Trump can pressure the networks. He cannot pressure the truth. And as long as Kimmel has a microphone and Meiselas has a camera, the truth has somewhere to live. See you in the next one.
Save time creating content and generate a high-quality clone of your voice with 11 Labs. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI-powered voice generating technology. Stop searching for the perfect voice and stop wasting time re-recording take after take. Try 11 Labs for free and start elevating your content today.
Donald Trump is shutting down the White House today from any and all public events as his war plans are backfiring in his face. I'll get to that in a moment, but you take a look at his schedule. Starting at 8 a.m., the White House claims that he will be doing, quote, executive time. At 3:30, they claim he's doing a closed press event that is a policy meeting. Sure, he's doing a policy meeting. Then they claim he's doing a print interview at 5 p.m., which is closed to the press, and at 7 p.m., a Rose Garden.
Song of the Year. Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, oh, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
I have a request to make, guys. Hit subscribe, like this video right now, subscribe to the channel, and join the membership, most importantly, because we need to keep independent journalism alive. We are just 29 members on this channel right now. We need at least 1,000. We are far from our goal. Please join the membership right now. It is just $9 a month. And this way you can support us and we can keep the great work alive. Subscribe to America Facticity, guys. Let's go back to the topic.
Trevor Noah exposed Donald Trump, and the reason his voice cut so deep is that Noah grew up watching exactly this kind of man win, in a country where the strong man always got away with it. Today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026, and in the last 24 hours, the man Trevor Noah has spent a decade warning about handed the world a perfect, almost unbelievable example of everything Noah has been saying. Donald Trump announced in all capital letters that Iran had come crawling to him for a meeting. Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha. And then the meeting he trumpeted to the entire planet simply did not happen because Iran said it was never scheduled, and its foreign ministry called his claim fake news. The President of the United States announced a summit that the other side says he invented. This is the exact move Trevor Noah has been exposing for years. The leader who loses, declares victory, and counts on the spectacle being loud enough that nobody checks the fine print. Noah is not a politician. He is not a pundit. He is a comedian who grew up under apartheid in South Africa, born, as the title of his memoir says, a crime, to a black mother and a white father at a time when their relationship was illegal. He spent 7 years hosting The Daily Show, dismantling Donald Trump's lies 4 nights a week. And now from his chart-topping podcast and his sold-out global tours, he keeps doing the same thing, holding Trump's grand claims up against the small, ugly reality underneath and letting the world see the gap. Where American pundits saw an aberration when Trump arrived, Trevor Noah saw a type he knew intimately because he had watched leaders exactly like this his entire childhood. He is not guessing about where this goes. He has seen it. We're going to walk through every piece of it. Pull up a chair. There's a lot here, and it all connects, and it's moving fast. And the reason this matters, the reason it's worth spending half an hour on, is that the spectacle is the entire strategy. Donald Trump does not want you to notice that the Doha meeting didn't happen, that the deal favors Iran, that his son-in-law is getting paid by the countries he's negotiating with. He wants the announcements to be so big, so loud, so constant that the fine print never gets read. The triumphant all-caps post, the great victory, the flag-waving spectacle. That is not an accident. It is the oldest trick in the strongman handbook, and Trevor Noah learned to see through it as a child because seeing through it was a matter of survival.
Still would have passed even if McCormick did show up. Regardless, when McCormick was there with Donald Trump, you had people in this very tiny crowd in Pennsylvania calling Donald Trump a pedo and a pedo protector. I'll show you what went down. Play this clip. Also, alarmingly, we're learning about how Donald Trump and the Defense Department under Hegseth are refusing to acknowledge the very serious injuries that our service members suffered from the Iran war. They're downplaying it and trying to cover it up. Wounded soldiers and families are accusing the army of downplaying war injuries. When Defense Secretary Hegseth was asked about the toll of the conflict with Iran in March, he told reporters that almost 90% of the 400 injured American members had sustained minor injuries and had since returned to duty. But a lot of those soldiers are telling CBS that the injuries were far more serious and they're being covered up. Chief Warrant Officer Rodney Behrman's body was riddled with shrapnel in the early hours of the war on March 1st when an Iranian drone slammed into his workstation in Kuwait. Medical records reviewed by CBS show he suffered a concussion, hearing, vision loss, damage to his lungs, but the Army classified his condition as not serious. And that assessment then led to him not getting the treatment that he needed and being basically told you have to return to duty.
Like just without the Arabic. Just like, say again? They're also what? Oh, they are friends. Yeah, he is. You can see that. It'd be cool if, like, I feel like Trump would be exactly the same even if he spoke Arabic. It would be like the same thing. It'd be like,
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
Club dinner that is closed to the press. This says he is cognitively and physically declining before our eyes with major red flags, and he's hiding from the fact that he told us that today there was going to be a major meeting in Doha in Qatar between the United States and Iran, that Qatar was going to mediate along with Pakistan. That's what Donald Trump said on Sunday and yesterday morning before the markets opened. He manipulated the markets yesterday and the market surged. But the truth didn't surge. The truth is that Iran is not meeting in Doha, that Iran has called off all further technical conversations and negotiations with the United States. And the Trump regime is sending Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to Doha, perhaps to engage in their own personal business dealings. By the way, I'm going to do a video on this in a little bit. Witkoff apparently yelled at all the members of Congress during a purported briefing on the Memorandum of Understanding when people asked, "What's your role in all of this, Witkoff? Are you still doing lots of business deals while you've been involved in this?"
The whole point of his comedy, from The Daily Show to What Now, has been to do the one thing the spectacle is designed to prevent, to stop, to slow down, and to read the fine print out loud so everyone can hear it. That is what we're going to do for the next half hour. If you appreciate this kind of breakdown, the membership is $9 a month, less than a coffee. No corporate parent, no FCC license to renew, no merger to negotiate with this White House. Just us and you. Jump in if you can. Share the video if you can't. Let me start with the thing that makes Trevor Noah's perspective so uniquely powerful, because it is the key to everything. Trevor Noah was born in Johannesburg in 1984 into a system built on official lies, apartheid, a government that maintained absolute power through propaganda, through the confident assertion of obvious falsehoods, through spectacle designed to keep people from noticing the rot. He learned as a child to listen past what powerful people say and watch what they actually do. That is not a skill he developed in a writer's room. It is a survival instinct he developed under a regime. And when he took over The Daily Show from Jon Stewart in 2015, he turned that instinct on American politics, and especially on Donald Trump. For 7 years, 4 nights a week, Noah dismantled the Trump method with the eye of an outsider who had seen the act before. He had a famous, devastating bit comparing Trump's rhetoric, point for point, to the words of the African strongmen he'd grown up hearing about, Idi Amin, Robert Mugabe, Muammar Gaddafi. He would play Trump's words, then play theirs, and the studio would laugh and then go quiet as they realized the words were interchangeable. The grandiosity, the cult of personality, the attacks on the press, the insistence that only he could fix it, the family members installed in positions of power, the claiming of credit for everything good and blame for nothing bad. Noah recognized Trump instantly because he had seen the prototype. Where American commentators saw a shocking novelty, Trevor Noah saw a rerun. Subscribe and share the video if you appreciate this kind of breakdown. And that strongman bit has aged into something close to prophecy. Look at the second Trump term through the lens Noah built years ago. The son-in-law Jared Kushner, dispatched to negotiate in the Gulf and enriched by the very governments he negotiates with. The vice president sent out to take the blame. The $250 million White House ballroom vanity project. The push to rename the Department of Defense the Department of War.
He has no items today on his calendar where he'll be talking to the press. Who knows, maybe he shows up. He hasn't posted anything on social media. It is a fraud in plain sight that is taking place. Another open source intelligence account explains how this container ship was hit by a projectile sailing in the forbidden corridor of the Omani waters. Again, that's the video I did this morning because I said this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen quite frequently. And the fact that 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, fighter jets, drones that are going around the Strait of Hormuz 24/7 couldn't protect this container ship in the Omani waters is a reminder the U.S. has no control over the Strait of Hormuz. And I've been showing you the actual satellite data of the ships that are pinging that they are in the Strait of Hormuz. And you'll see right here that yesterday there were ships trying to get through the Omani route. You see right here that the ships have been turning around and they either use the IRGC route or they don't get out of the Strait of Hormuz. That's what's going on.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open an account. When you're ready to record, just hit rec to capture high-quality audio and video all from the comfort of, well, anywhere. Even if the only camera you have is on your phone. With Riverside, you'll still look like a pro. The equipment doesn't matter. You'll get a professional-looking podcast using anything you already have at home. When it comes to editing, it's truly idiot-proof. Even with zero experience, you can create content like an experienced editor using Riverside's AI tools and intuitive editing features. Get transcriptions automatically and use them to edit just like a doc. Or use the chapter timeline, which makes it easier to skim and scan. Ready to share? It's okay if you don't have an audience yet. Everyone needs to start somewhere, and Riverside has the perfect tools to help you reach them. Like live streaming or automated social clips using AI to create engagement on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. Your podcast really is just a click away with Riverside. Just bring your idea and we'll do the rest. Try it now. It's free.
When people hear the words print on demand, they picture a graphic slapped onto a basic tee. But that's not necessarily how you build a brand that people will keep coming back to and remember by your brand name. In fact, this is print on demand too.
You know, Foreign Minister Araghchi spoke with his counterpart in Oman, the Foreign Minister of Oman, to discuss regional updates. And here's what they said coming out of this meeting, that they agree that for a temporary 60-day period, that they will allow for there to be free transit through the IRGC.
Who else do we have from where? Yes? Egypt. Oh, very nice. That's cool. Cool and exotic. Yes. How things going over there? Just blink if it's good. And blink twice if it's bad. I won't say your name. I won't put you on camera. You can go back. Your president doesn't have to know you were here. Things are good in Egypt.
MOU, but I digress. Witkoff and Kushner are there in Doha. The Iranians are not there in Doha because they said, we ain't having these discussions while you continue to strike Keshem and Sarik and all these other areas in Iran and violate the ceasefire, violate the MOU. Iran says no talks with the United States are scheduled. No negotiations are taking place in Qatar. There's no imminent meeting taking place. They're not going to any meetings. There's no relationship to the truth with anything that Donald Trump is saying. If you heard what Donald Trump said yesterday in the Oval Office as the day was winding down and the markets had closed, he kind of admitted it because Trump was asked, so what's going on? Are you excited about these meetings in Doha? And Donald Trump's like, I don't know, maybe not. Who knows if they're going to be productive. Iran is not even going to be there. Listen to what he said. Play this clip.
Doing very well on that front. But the meeting in Doha is going to be perhaps important, perhaps not. We're going to find out. But we're winning militarily. It's almost won militarily, I would say.
By the way, just look at how Donald Trump looked over here during this Oval Office meeting he had yesterday. No wonder he's shutting down the White House today. But here's what he claims he's putting on the White House entranceway. A golden gift to the White House for its 250th birthday year. Seems though it was an AI image because when Andrew Layden took a photo of the White House last night, that golden eagle, which looks a lot like the golden eagle Nazi emblem that you see right there in the Third Reich.
The musing about not even having elections, the threat to make an entire nation no longer exist, the Supreme Court handing him the power to purge independent agencies of anyone insufficiently loyal. The strongman playbook Noah laid out for laughs is being run page by page in real time. He wasn't exaggerating for a punchline. He was pattern matching accurately from lived experience, and the pattern keeps completing itself. That strongman bit was more than a comedy routine. It was a warning delivered in the only language that could get past America's defenses. Americans, Noah understood, had been raised to believe that authoritarianism was something that happened elsewhere, in other countries, to other people. It could never happen here. And so when Trump displayed every classic marker of the strongman, American pundits reached for softer words: unconventional, norm-breaking, populist, anything but the accurate one. Noah, who had grown up on the receiving end of the real thing, refused to play that game. He simply put Trump's words next to the dictator's words and let the audience hear that they rhymed. He couldn't be told he was overreacting because he wasn't comparing Trump to a strongman as an insult. He was recognizing a strongman from experience and pointing. That is a fundamentally different and more credible act than partisan name-calling, and it is why the bit has aged so terrifyingly well. He also had a phrase for the specific way Trump lies. He called it the Tokyo drift of lying. Most people, Noah said, lie in a gradual curve. Trump swerves from one position to its complete opposite without slowing down. I know him. Actually, I know him through a friend. Well, I don't know him. And that observation describes this very week with uncanny precision. Trump signed a peace deal and declared the war over, then bombed Iran 3 times in 3 weeks. He declared the Strait of Hormuz open, while Iran fired drones at ships passing through it. He announced Iran had requested a meeting, while Iran said no such request was ever made. The Tokyo drift of lying, swerving from claim to opposite claim without ever touching the brakes. Noah named the technique years before this particular pileup. Hit subscribe if this kind of breakdown is what you're here for. Share the video. The corporate media won't connect any of these dots. Noah had another framework he called Newton's third law of Trump. For every Trump, there is an equal and opposite Trump. Whatever Trump accuses others of, he is doing. Whatever Trump promises, the opposite arrives.
That was not on the White House, but Donald Trump said it was going to be on the White House. We'll see if he's going to put that up. It's going to make it, as our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, said, what was missing after all of Donald Trump's destruction of D.C.? Some golden eagle. We need more gold on the White House right there. Now, while Donald Trump is shutting down the White House from all public events and manipulating the markets, he's raging at refiners for not lowering the prices because Donald Trump doesn't understand the way Brent crude futures looks and what refiners are doing. In any event, Donald Trump, aren't these your buddies? Can't you just pick up the phone and call your refiner friends and your gas buddies and in the industry, and they could explain to you what you're doing? Didn't you tell them about your invasion of Venezuela before you told anybody else? Weren't you coordinating that invasion with the oil companies? Didn't you say that was what you were going to do? So this is Donald Trump's economic policy, and I say that facetiously, of course. So while he refuses to speak in coherent sentences or actually explain what the hell he's doing, this is the Trump economic policy. He posts on social media. Here's what he posts. Gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately. They're too high considering that oil is now at $68 a barrel and headed south. The retailers must quickly react to the statement and do what they know is right. Drop your price for our great American people. There will be no gouging, which is totally illegal. If retailers don't do this, big problems lie ahead. Start targeting around $2.50 a gallon number, and California should stop charging heavy taxes on their gasoline. Soon the tax will be higher than the product itself, and the United States will not stand for it, nor will the people of California who are being abused by the ridiculous taxes and by their own government. Donald J. Trump. So controlled area in the Strait of Hormuz, but that's for a limited 60-day period. And thereafter, Iran intends to charge fees, billions of dollars in fees. And the Wall Street Journal did an article about that today, but we didn't need that from the Wall Street Journal because Iran has been saying it, and they've been doing what they're saying, and we can read what's in the Memorandum of Understanding. Iran intends to charge environmental service fees, protection fees as the overall toll structure where they plan to make billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, we can actually show you data, show you receipts, show you audio. I mean, this isn't some cloak and dagger stuff right now. I mean, this is happening in plain sight. So, for example, ships have turned around in the Strait of Oman when the IRGC issued the warning. We have the audio of the SEPA Navy. That's the IRGC Navy. SEPA Navy, SEPA Navy. Turn your ships around, or we will strike you. And the ship that didn't turn around got hit. That's what happened. Here, I'll show you this. Let's play this audio of the SEPA Navy, the IRGC Navy, broadcasting this. We have the satellite footage of the ships turning around. And then we have the Trump regime, Donald Trump, Bessent, Rubio, manipulate.
And look at this war through that law. He promised in 2024 not to start new wars. He started one with Iran. He promised to be the great deal maker. He signed a deal his own Republican senators call the worst blunder in decades. A deal CNN plainly describes as widely viewed as highly favorable to Tehran. He promised to put America first. He committed America to unfreezing Iran's money, lifting Iran's sanctions, reopening Iran's oil exports, and helping fund Iran's reconstruction. He promised to bring prices down. Gas is climbing, and this week he was reduced to threatening gas stations about it. For every Trump promise, there is an equal and opposite Trump reality. Noah built the framework. This administration keeps filling it in. After The Daily Show, Noah did not fade. He built something arguably more influential. His podcast, What Now with Trevor Noah, became one of the most listened to shows in the world, the kind of long-form conversation where he can take a news story apart slowly with the patience the format allows. And that patience is exactly the weapon this moment requires because the Trump story has become too complicated for a soundbite. You cannot fact-check the Iran deal in 15 seconds. You need someone willing to walk you through the phantom Doha meeting and the $2 billion in Gulf money in the negotiator's pocket, and the uranium Iran offered to give up before the war even started, slowly, patiently, until the full picture comes into focus. That is what Noah does. Where Trump floods the zone with so many claims that no single lie can be pinned down, Noah slows everything down until each lie sits still long enough to be examined. In an information environment built for confusion, the patience to make things clear is itself a form of resistance. And there is something Noah understands about comedy itself that makes him uniquely suited to this. He has said that comedy was, for him growing up, a way to survive. A way to tell the truth about a brutal system while staying just safe enough to keep telling it. Comedy under an authoritarian government is not entertainment. It is a pressure valve and a weapon at once. Noah brings that understanding to his work on Trump. He is not joking to make people comfortable. He is joking to make a frightening thing legible, to give people a way to look directly at it without flinching away. When he laughs at the Phantom Doha summit, he is not minimizing it. He is making sure you actually see it. See how absurd it is that the president announced a meeting the whole world then had to confirm was fake. The laugh is the delivery system for the truth. And crucially, Noah brings the perspective American commentators often can't, the view from outside. He has talked again and again about how the rest of the world watches America's slide with a kind of grim recognition, because so many other countries have already lived through the populist strongman who breaks the institutions, blames the foreigners, enriches his family, and calls it greatness. Noah is not guessing about where this goes. He has seen it. He watched it happen to a country he loved, and he recognizes every step of the choreography as it plays out again on a bigger stage. That is why his warnings never sound hysterical to the people who share his background, and why they should not sound hysterical to anyone paying attention this week. Now bring it all the way to the present, because the news from the last 24 hours is a relentless, almost comical confirmation of everything Trevor Noah has been describing.
You heard me. I'm going to take some time right here. Right now, as the country is engulfed in such turmoil and chaos as a result of Trump infecting this nation with his MAGA lies. Let's play this clip.
Making us proud every step of the way. Love you, babe. Oh, so please indulge me for a moment because I'm going to take a little time to do something that I know my husband will not do today. And that is to fully sing his praises. Barack, you gotta look at me. You told me all those.
And Michelle Obama talks about how no one has the right to sit in judgment of who America is. Powerful indeed. Let's play this clip.
And to ignore the simple truth, to refuse to respect the contributions and experiences of people who aren't exactly like us. Y'all puts us all at risk. Failing to see the humanity in all people puts us all on a slippery slope. And once that slide starts, there's no telling where it stops. A dangerous precedent that flies in the very face of our faith and of the founding promise of this democracy, that all of us are created equal, that each of us is a child of God with inerrant value. And no one, and I mean no one, has the right to sit in judgment of who's American enough.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on most weekdays, I can show you one simple trade that could potentially bankroll your retirement. Hi, I'm Dave Aquino, and I help ordinary people go after their retirement goals sooner by teaching them how to master the retirement trade. This is a special trade designed to be used every morning between 9 a.m. and 10:45.
Still hold the power to build a country that reflects us all is a choice. The Obama Presidential Center is a living testament to the power of choice, y'all.
Attacking California. Gas is at all-time highs in red states and significantly higher increase by percentage than in California. But okay, you want to turn this into California. But also you need to understand the crack spreads, the delta or difference between the price of crude, which is a measure of the future when we see the Brent crude and WTI, and what the refiners are charging. Because when you actually look at these crack spreads, it seems what may be happening is that the refiners believe that the supply is not going to be there in the future. They may not be buying the narrative that we're in very stable times. They may be looking at tank bottom in Cushing, Oklahoma, and international strategic reserves hitting a low. And they may be a little bit worried right now about precipitously dropping their prices when they don't believe there's going to be a potential supply. By the way, do I believe that they engage in price gouging? Abso-freaking-lutely I do. And I think they did that in droves under former President Biden. And I think the crude price.
Start with the Phantom Doha meeting because it is the purest example. On Monday, Trump posted his triumphant all-caps announcement. Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha. His press secretary went on Fox News and said envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner would fly to Doha for high-level meetings. And then, over the next 24 hours, the whole thing fell apart in public. Iran's chief negotiator had already said, before Trump even posted, that no meetings were scheduled. Iran's foreign ministry called the claim that Tehran requested the meeting fake news. And Qatar itself, the host, confirmed the truth through its foreign ministry spokesman. Witkoff and Kushner were there to meet Qatari mediators, but, in the spokesman's own words, they are not here for direct negotiations with the Iranians. The summit Trump announced to the world did not exist. This is the Tokyo drift of lying made flesh, and it is exactly the move Noah grew up watching strongmen make. The leader who cannot tolerate looking weak, so he simply announces the reality he wishes were true and dares everyone to check. This week, everyone checked. Iran's negotiator, Iran's foreign ministry, and the government of Qatar all contradicted the President of the United States on the simple question of whether a meeting was even happening. When three separate parties have to correct your announcement of your own summit, you are not negotiating from strength. You are performing strength badly for an audience that has stopped believing the act. And think about what it means that we now have to fact-check whether the president is even in a meeting. The most basic thing a leader's word is supposed to do, the thing that makes diplomacy function at all, is to be reliably true when he states a plain fact. When the President of the United States says there will be a meeting tomorrow, allies plan around it, markets move on it, the world organizes itself on the assumption that he is not simply inventing events. Donald Trump has burned through that assumption so completely that when he posts, "Iran has requested a meeting," the responsible thing for any journalist to do is wait for Iran to say whether it's real. This is precisely the erosion Trevor Noah watched happen under the governments of his childhood, the slow death of the idea that official statements bear any relationship to the truth. When a government's own announcements can no longer be believed, something foundational has broken. Noah has seen what a country looks like on the other side of that break. He has been trying for a decade to warn America before it gets there. If you're getting value from this breakdown, the membership is $9 a month, less than a cup of coffee, and it fuels independent journalism while the corporate networks settle lawsuits and cancel the hosts who tell the truth. Jump in if you can. Share the video if you can't. And it gets more humiliating, in exactly the way Newton's third law of Trump predicts. While Trump was announcing a fictional meeting, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian was calling the entire deal a great victory for the Iranian people. The country Trump spent $100 billion and 13 American lives bombing, the country he threatened just days ago would no longer exist, is publicly celebrating the agreement as its own triumph. And the $6 billion in frozen assets Iran came to Doha to collect? Qatar confirmed it hasn't even been transferred yet and will only be released according to the advancement of negotiations. So Iran declared victory, refused to meet Trump, and hasn't even received its money.
Then I'll show you right here, Democratic Senator Gallego cross-examining another pick of Donald Trump, Charlton Allen, who's being picked to be on the Federal Labor Relations Authority, General Counsel. Let's take a look at what goes on here. Let's play it.
Mr. Allen, in the 1990s, you founded a conservative campus publication called the Carolina Review. If you look behind me, you see the front cover of an edition of the Carolina Review depicting Aaron Nelson, a Jewish candidate for student body president. Your magazine altered Nelson's photo depicting him with the horns and a pitchfork. Inside the article says the difference between Aaron Nelson is simple. He's Jewish. Yes or no, Ms. Nelson, do you stand by this depiction?
If you got hit, even if you were not driving, you need to try this.
Because if you were in a car accident in the last year, you could be owed a large cash payment and not even know it. Even if you weren't driving, all you have to do is click the link in this video, answer 5.
Well, first of all, in terms...
Turn your mic on. Your mic.
Sorry. I'm Mr. Allen, not Mr. Nelson. But in terms of that cover, I would, if I were 30 years ago advocating for the review, I would say don't run that cover. I think it was a mistake. That said, if you look at full context of the article, you're taking a quote out of context.
Okay, so it may take the quote out of context, but that's not being taken out of context, right? The pitchfork with the horns?
Right.
Right. Because that's kind of hard to get out of context.
In terms of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, our chief rival was the Blue Devils, still are the Blue Devils. And the cartoonist's intention was to make an analogy to that.
So everything happened was just a total coincidence that the Jewish candidate happened to have a pitchfork and horns, and that also at the same time inside the context, so the difference with Nelson is simple, he's Jewish, and the difference being between them and the Blue Devils. So the difference is that he is a Jewish versus a Blue Devil. Is that what your defense is?
No, sir. The point is this. Mr. Nelson voted not to fund a Christian group. He voted to fund the Jewish group. He voted to fund the pagan group. But on two separate times, he voted not to fund InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. And it raises a conflict of interest when he was a member of a group that he voted for.
You certainly remember in detail this incident in question for someone who wants to forget it. So do you stand by the statement that was made of that time period regarding Mr. Nelson then?
What statement are you referring to?
Well, I would say overall this anti-Semitic statement and depiction of this gentleman.
I would not say that it's anti-Semitic. We were the group that was calling for the equal treatment of all student religions.
So it's not anti-Semitic to say the difference with Nelson is simple. He's Jewish. The difference between a Blue Devil and Nelson is the fact that he's Jewish. You stand by that then?
The point was this. He voted for the Jewish group, and on two separate occasions, he voted not to fund the
Christians. Were completely manipulated as well under former President Biden. I think you had a combination of both. But if you take a look at the Strait of Hormuz right now, and we remove the rhetoric of the Trump regime and all of the propaganda from state regime media, one of the reasons I think Trump has shut down the White House right now, these policy meetings, I have two theories, and they both may be happening at the same time. Number one, cognitive physical decline, and he's getting medical treatment. I'm giving you my opinion, and behind the scenes, he wants to limit his availability to the press because he's declining very fast. I also think that there's panic going on behind the scenes as well about the actual state of our strategic reserves. I am observing what is happening in Cushing, Oklahoma. We're at basically tank bottom or technical tank bottom at this point. If you look at the Strait of Hormuz, the numbers of tankers going out, it's going down. That Omani lane that the United States continues to try to escort ships, we're seeing less ships go through the Omani lane. By the way, Oman has said that it will be charging environmental fees with Iran in the future, and they didn't buy what Rubio said. Rubio says, Oman says that they're not charging. No, Oman says we'll probably charge fees after 60 days. Not tolls, but some sort of fees.
And Trump still announced a triumphant summit. The equal and opposite Trump, he says he won, and the other side throws the victory party. This is the piece that would make a Noah monologue devastating because it is so perfectly upside down. In a normal war, the losing side does not hold a victory celebration. The defeated party does not get to dictate the terms, keep control of the contested waterway, collect a payout, and then decline to shake the winner's hand. And yet that is precisely what is happening. Iran is behaving exactly like the side that won, because by every measure that matters, it did. It kept its grip on the Strait of Hormuz. It got its sanctions lifted and its oil exports reopened. It is getting its frozen billions back. And it gets to call the whole thing a great victory for the Iranian people, while the American president reduces himself to announcing meetings that aren't happening. Noah spent years teaching audiences to ignore the victory speech and look at the scoreboard. This week, the scoreboard could not be clearer, and it is not the president who is winning. Then there's the detail that Noah, with his eye for how strong men enrich their families, would circle immediately. The man Trump sent to Doha is his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, whose private equity firm, Affinity Partners, took $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund after the first Trump term, plus large investments from the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, the very Gulf countries at the center of these negotiations. Kushner waved off the obvious conflict with a line Noah could not have written better as satire. What people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trusted relationships. Experience and trusted relationships. The family installed in the negotiations, financially entangled with the governments across the table. The exact strongman pattern Noah spent years mapping, now running American foreign policy in the open. This is the piece Americans have the hardest time seeing, and the piece Noah sees most clearly, because it was the defining feature of the regimes he grew up under. In a functioning democracy, there is supposed to be a wall between the leader's family finances and the business of the state. In a strongman's government, that wall doesn't exist. The state is the family business, and the family business is the state. And here is the president's son-in-law, who runs a fund holding billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, dispatched as the president's personal envoy to negotiate with those exact governments. The people paying him are the people he's negotiating against, or perhaps not against at all, which is the whole problem. Noah doesn't need to explain why that's dangerous to anyone who grew up watching leaders treat a national treasury as a family account. He just needs to point at it the way he always has and let the picture speak. Experience in trusted relationships is the kind of phrase that sounds reasonable until you remember it's describing the president's relative getting paid by the foreign governments he's negotiating with on America's behalf in secret talks that this week didn't even officially happen. And back home, in the same 24 hours, Trump lashed out at the one consequence of his war that Americans feel directly: gas prices. He posted, in all caps, "Gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately," warning that if they didn't, big problems lie